Hello. Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
That wonderful music.
The best music. I put it on for you. That you know. Oh my god.
My chat has claimed that the music is a violation of the non-aggression principle.
I'm in agreement with your chat. I think it's the only time we'll agree.
Turn off the shitty music, please. But I'm so mad that Dr. Greg left on this one.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I was. He said he had a spicy take as well, but apparently some family.
That was part of the reason I sent that to you, is because you just had two doctors, and I was like, I know he's gonna get one of them on here, and like, and this will be fun. You know what I mean? To have a different take.
Yeah, he said he had something spicy to say about it. He didn't tell me what it was, but he said it was gonna be spicy. But it'd be what it be.
Well, you can't trust white people when they say they have a spicy take about food.
There's a thing, and I'm sure you all haven't noticed because it doesn't bother you, but it bothers me. All right, so I'm gonna give you an insight into my mind. Right, like this. Well, it's I guess it's not just StreamYard. This also I guess would be the case on Discord, both the way I arrange things. But you know how like we get like right now, you and I we're in a perfect grid, okay? All right. There's 4 of us here, it's perfectly even, right? It will be uneven when 5 people come in, right? When the next person comes in, there's like a bunch of space left, right? And then when 6 people come in, it's a bit more even, right? It's evenly distributed. So I like that, right? I like that, and I want to maintain that. And so I like it when there's 9 individuals on the screen. Less so when there's 8, but 8's not bad, right? The thing I hate the most is 7. 7, right? And here's the fucking thing. Whenever like I have like 8 people, like for instance, I can't get like 9, right? When I have like 8 people, someone's gonna drop out. Someone's gonna drop out. It happens all the fucking time. Someone drops out, and I knew it was going to happen as soon as I left it, and I did the full thing. I left it at 8. I was like, you know what? I especially because Dr. Greg was going to be here. I was like, let's have this slightly smaller, right? And so we can give more time to like people like Dr. Greg and Corey and all that, right? So they can make their points. And so I left it at 8, foolishly, because as soon as it's 8, it will drop to 7. Like, look back on our past streams. It happens all the fucking time. And it annoys me to no fucking end.
I believe you. I can tell.
Oh, here it goes. It's the beginning. Look at that. 5.
Yeah. I'm here to annoy you to the end. That's how we're going to do it.
I think
breathing seems better today.
Yeah. I think that's
I don't know what was happening.
Really. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening with the breathing. I'm like not 100% sure.
All I can say is you should look at the 8 and the 9 on the Windows calculator. Pull up the Windows calculator app. Okay. For almost a decade now, it's been 1 pixel off. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. The 9. I'm gonna look at between the 8 and the 9 on the calculator app.
Okay. So let me.
I don't know if my eye is sharp enough to make anything out.
Wait a minute. Is it? This is true on the Windows 11 app. 8 and 9. Maybe. But I'm not. No,
it's easier to see. It's easy. Well, for you, like I can see it right now. It's easier if you take a picture, like with a snapshot.
Okay.
And like just look
zoom
at the
in.
grid. Yeah.
I could. It might be. It might be, but I don't know if I'm like seeing it because you're telling me.
You've been primed to see it.
Yeah, I've been exactly. Yeah, I was like I like above it is like the x squared and the x square root thing. I'm looking at that, and that looks a tiny. Actually, no, fuck. You're right. No, you are right.
It's like it's slightly off, and it sets the whole thing off slightly.
Yeah, you're all right.
It's just like a bad design of the way they did it, and they've kept that design in since Windows 7.
Holy fuck, you're all right.
It's a thing. It's a thing that you'll see on like forums every now and then, and you'll be like, "That's still present." Like you guys never decided to just make all the buttons the exact same size, but instead, like some of the buttons are ever so slightly bigger. So you just like moved it up a pixel and then moved another one down a pixel to work it. It's fucking hilarious, and it's been there for like a decade.
Yeah,
It's like, oh god, Windows is so good.
it's a single pixel off. You're absolutely right, though.
You know what I mean? Like it's fucking. They're absolutely worth their market value for sure.
I do. I have a question that I want to ask for or pre-talk. I want to.
I probably forgot our talk already.
About our talk.
Yeah, I probably forgot it all. I'm just. Go ahead, remind me.
I think
wasn't
Prime was
referencing anything.
about to say something about it. I don't think.
Yeah. I wasn't referencing something that
You said our
before.
pre-talk, or I thought you meant like a
our
conversation we had
pre-discussion
previously.
here on the
Our
Reverie. No.
upcoming pre-talk.
No.
Yeah. I'm
pre-talk.
caught up now. Right,
The
I thought
previews
you
of the
meant like
pre-talk.
we had a previous discussion
Yeah.
regarding
No
what we're bringing up
worries.
now. Whatever. I was just trying to make a joke, man. Like, all right.
You were making a joke.
I was trying to play off of the fact that I'm forgetful and that like whatever we talked about before, who knows
Or
what
you were
it is.
actually
And then
just
you were
being-
like,
Now
yeah,
your joke
I was
one
actually being
pixel
dumb.
off.
All right.
That's okay. It's fine.
It's too soon for a callback.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I did want to ask about something I had seen. I think it was Saturday or Friday. I saw this video, and it made me think of you, Scott. And so, I do want to get everyone else in here as well on their thoughts about this new financial product that's being pushed, right? So I'm curious if you guys have heard of this yet. It's called
Love me a new financial product.
It's called, very confusingly, all right, you'll understand in a second, tokenization. So like outfits like Robinhood was the big one, but I think there are others doing the same thing, right? Are offering something called tokenization, in which they are offering these tokens that represent a bet on companies, right? So the two companies that were using were SpaceX and OpenAI. Yeah, SpaceX and OpenAI. These are side bets. They aren't stock. Okay, right? Equity is not being given out, right? And OpenAI made that very clear. They put out a statement saying we have no deal with Robinhood. We are not giving you equity. You have like no particular rights with this bet or anything like that, right? To make it extremely clear. In an interview, the head of Robinhood was basically talking about how like he wanted to open up financial markets to more people, right? To open up their ability to invest in private companies. That's what it was, right? Like and private companies that haven't gone public. And this is the way to do it, right? Like, you know, you can do so with private equity, right? Like in a private equity firm, but you got to be like a big time investor, right? You got to have a lot of money to play with to do that, right? So he's like, well, we're going to open it up through these tokenization schemes. But okay, there's lots of thoughts about this. And that, first of all, like, does the consumer understand what they're getting? You're calling it open AI tokens. I forget exactly the term they're using. It's called tokenization, but like I think they might have been using other terminology as well in here. But in any case, like, do they know, like, from your stock app that they're not buying OpenAI stock? Do they know that they're not like have equity in SpaceX? Do they understand that? And in any case, right, like you don't have some of you will be fine with this. You don't have any protections, right? There are very well established protections within like the public stock market for these investors, but you'll have none of that, right? Do they understand they don't have those rights, right? if in case anything goes wrong. And so like this is all very confusing, and it's like opening up to uh like retail investors a space that can be quite volatile, right? If this expands. So far as I know, there's only two companies being tokenized, right? But then like is like the very thought of it perverse as to like how this company can make essentially a side bet onto someone else's property, right? And so like what I'm curious about, and if you're first learning about this, Scott, you can take your time and like think about like your responses. But like and anyone else can jump in as well, right? Like is this a good thing?
So like I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing, but like tokenization has been around for a long time. But it's when you're talking about AI tokenization, that's like something different than like blockchain tokenization, right? So like since we've had crypto, we've had
Gibbs, I think we can hear you
tokenization
with the typing.
to a certain degree, right? Now it's
That's
good,
impossible.
and I think it's good and it's bad. It's
Maybe
bad
flag
because this is the type of behavior that led to the 2009 financial crisis, right? Which is betting on bets on mortgages, right? Like it's like you're not purchasing stock, but rather we have this what's known in sociology of economics as like the big pool of money, right? So the big pool of money is you had all of these people in Saudi Arabia and in industrializing nations where like you had all this new wealth and there was nowhere to put all this wealth, right? And so they had to create places to put this wealth in terms of capital markets because there wasn't enough like stock, like most of the stock was like being traded in such a way that like we could just like massively increase the value of stock and make purchase and slow down kind of that process of moving, or we can create like pseudo stocks by creating bets on other things. And so like all of that, like that process of like betting on whether or not a company will do well as opposed to actually just owning the stock on a company can mean that like if a bubble or a collapse happens that like more wealth is tied up in it than in like the actual productive value of the thing itself, right? And so the bubble can be worse, and I think that's really bad with our current market where I think we're in a bit of an AI bubble. That being said, on the other hand, I think it's good because old school way to do it was that only large corporations that were like hedge funds that were managing like over $1 billion were even able to play this game. This game was something that was gatekept, and it was gatekept by something known as an ISDA, right? Like you had to have a certain legal agreement with certain companies that usually required you to be managing $1 billion or more, though different banks had different like things set up. But basically you had to be BlackRock or Vanguard or, ARK or something, like one of these huge hedge fund companies in order to be able to make bets on stock and do these kind of, or to do like certain shorts or to like make your own shorts and go to the bank and be like, I'd like to purchase a short on something that the market hasn't already created a short for and things like that. So like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I think if you're dumb enough to buy something on an app and you don't know what you're buying, like, caveat emptor, buyer beware. But like that's kind of like my initial thing is that like it's more funny money and fake money. And like I think it probably leads to a less stable economy. But also it's probably good that like, the people on Reddit and Wall Street bets and shit are allowed to play the same game that hedge funds have been playing for 20 years.
So I would initially agree with you there. One one of the interesting things that I thought about is like, I know your whole ideology, and because you tell it to me very often, and I know that you dislike distributed ownership, right? That it's a contradiction. And well, this isn't that. Right. So this isn't, you're not buying any equity. You have no rights to this company, like at all. So that's not what this is. But
Yeah.
at the same time, right? It
I'm not
seems
against
like
stocks. I'm just against the way that stocks are defined. Right? I just don't think that I don't think that by having a stock, you should be able to secretly be able to buy enough stock to then have ownership of the company. I'm perfectly fine with a company selling like a contract that says if our market share goes up or our numbers go up, you're owed dividends, right? Or are creating a contract where you own the stock. You just don't actually own a portion of the company, right? So it's
Okay.
not like my biggest issue with stocks is that it's defined as a form of ownership of the company. And this is how you get like private equity buying out businesses underneath
Yeah.
them against their will and shit like that. I'm against
Yeah.
that. That's really what I'm against. So I'm not like against the making of bets and shit.
Skydance, Paramount are trying to do a hostile, like a
Of Warner
buyout
Brothers,
of
yeah.
Warner Brothers. That's an interesting thing. Okay, that's interesting. So I didn't fully understand that. Thank you for helping me out with that. I didn't. Okay, fair enough. But the other thing that seems wrong about this, right, to me,
Mhm.
is that like, perverse incentives, right? Like think about like what's just happened, right? Like if I can take out a bet against this other company, right? And I guess this isn't new, right? To be fair, this probably isn't new. This is just like opening this up to retail investors. But like if I can take a bet against like someone else's property, well then like I have an incentive to make sure that bet like goes through. So like if I took out a bet against Scott's house, right, against it, and
Mhm.
like, hey, will Scott's house burn down? Well, now I have a financial incentive to burn down Scott's house, right?
Yeah, I mean the exact opposite led to 2009, right? Like all these people are
Mm,
taking bets that the housing market is safe. Okay, well
yeah.
now you have this perverse incentive of the SEC and HUD and the credit rating agencies. All of these people had to just be like, "What? There's no fire. No fire's happening. What do
Mm,
you mean a fire? A fire isn't happening
mm,
because it was all of
mm,
this money betting on bets, right? Credit,
mm-hmm.
credit default swaps and things like that, where, the exact opposite was occurring, right? So I do
Yeah.
think that there is like, there's, I don't think it's the best way to use money. I do think it can lead to some I think it's a bad investment. I think it's a bad business model, but I don't think it's inherently like aggressive or something. I just think it's stupid.
Okay. All right. So this, according to you, doesn't violate your ideas about like ownership or
Yeah,
how
I
markets
don't
should
think it's
function
any
or anything like
like
that.
I don't think a casino is a violation of the non-aggression principle, but I think it's degenerate, and I don't want a casino near my town. I don't want to be a part of a casino, and I don't want to go to a casino. It's degeneracy and stupidity instead of actually using your finances towards something that is more productive and less harmful.
What about okay? So then I want to open this up to everyone else, right? To hear your
Yeah, yeah,
thoughts.
yeah.
To expand on this, right?
Maybe
So like
Doobie knows more
like
about it because he has more money to invest.
yeah, certainly. So yeah, Doobie, if you want to talk on that, but like to even expand it even past this, right? And so like as my understanding of this, like this is a private bet. Like what Robinhood is offering you, right, is not OpenAI stock, right? It's not SpaceX stock. It's a private bet, right, on the health of the
Mhm.
company. But this isn't the only place we're seeing bets, right? Now we're seeing a lot of betting markets, right? Probability markets, they're calling it, right? Like it's like a whole casino on everything, right? Like anything that you can like decide to bet on, like have like some sort of like a binary outcome, right? Then you can bet on that. So we've got like a
Robinhood
few of
does
these things.
way worse shit than this, by the way. If you want to go down this rabbit hole, one of the things that Robinhood does is they hire people as day traders. And it's essentially like a pyramid scheme because what they do is they give people like $30,000 to play with. And you're like, how the fuck do they give $30,000 to people to play with? They don't. What they do instead is they give you $30,000 of fake money that doesn't exist. They allow you to day trade, and then they see how successful or unsuccessful you are in that, and then they allow you to gain real money like a paycheck based off of profits, and then they can kick people out of the program that don't do very well, and the people that do exceptionally well are then tied in a contract to be day traders that essentially work for Robinhood while Robinhood takes a portion of the money. Like if you want to get into like actual fucked up shit Robinhood does that like skirts the line, like there's things they do that are worse than this.
I don't know if they're. I mean, I know they're not exceptional on that, and that like a lot of trading companies, or I don't know what they're called, do that. Like my cousin, a cousin of mine, a young cousin. I remember he came to my house and he talked about how he was doing exactly this or some other bumfuck operation. I don't know what it was, but he was like literally like what you're describing. That's what he was up to. But and like I've heard this like discussed in other places. So this seems like a quite normal thing. Now I'm not sure like the legality of this. You'll have to ask someone else. But yeah, that's a thing that they do. But anyway, so I was asking guys, like, what do you think about these private betting markets, right? Like Kalshi, right, is now going to be working with CNN. Kalshi is one of these betting markets.
Merged.
And they're going to. They merged. They merged. Okay.
Didn't they purchase?
They
like
might
a
have bought
significant portion of them.
They might have. I don't know. CNN did get split off from the Warner Brothers Discovery thing, separate sort of vehicle. So maybe they did something there. In any case, right? They're going to be working together, and they'll have like betting odds like on screen for while they're talking about politics. We don't know how that's going to look like, right? But we also see the whole DraftKings thing. That's specifically sports betting. But like this is expanded from anything you can bet on, you can now bet on. And so should there be regulations? Should we stop this? Like is this damage? It could be more damaging. A lot of people are now getting into the financial markets right through places like Robinhood, which have lowered the barriers, which is a good thing, I think, overall. I agree with Scott on that one in particular. But however, now we're giving them more and more exotic financial vehicles to put their money into, right? And most of the people are desperate. We're talking about these retail investors, especially with the economy now. People are feeling quite a bit desperate. Is this the direction we want to go in? So yeah, what does everyone else think?
Well, about the stock tokens, I literally just heard of it when you shared it, and I just started Googling because I don't actually know what they are. But pretty much, I think I'm too ignorant to really comment, as I don't know exactly how they say that they're traded on the blockchain. I'm not entirely sure exactly what that means. But my intuition is like, well, actually, I have no intuition at this point.
And that's the blockchain. Calling it a token again, like on the blockchain. They call everything token on the blockchain. So
that I'm reading, which might be inaccurate. They refer to them as stock tokens, but then you say they're not stock. So I understand that maybe there's some misdirection or misleading there.
Well, it's tokenization of stock, and the process of tokenization means turning a real product into a digital product that is a private digital product. So that's what it means when it says stock token, is that we've taken stock, which is a real product, and then we've tokenized the product. And the process of tokenization is putting it on the blockchain. Now, there's AI stock tokenization, which is usually like AI programs not on the blockchain, whereas the blockchain, I think it's it's just two different fancy words they're using for the same thing, which is that like we have data, right? And you have your own private bet on something. And so we've essentially created a new asset, and we're treating it like an asset, but really it's just a bet on the value of another asset.
So anyone else? Do you guys have thoughts on this? Lactoid, Doobie, Gibbs?
I think it's fine. I mean, as far as gambling is okay, I think it's fine. One of the things that I actually kind of like about this is I think this might be the thing, depending on how popular it gets, that actually like puts Native American reservations out of business as political entities. Which I'm like
the Native Americans. All right, let's start with that.
I mean, I'm just
is that correlated to your views of you thinking it's fine, or that just happens?
I've long described my dislike of like the reservations.
Just to start things off,
and so like if everybody's using gambling that isn't going to like the reservation and doing the gambling there, which is how these rich reservations make their money usually, actually. I think this might disempower them. which is kind of, if people are going to gamble, and it has this happy little side effect, I guess that's kind of good. But in terms of the, if at least like overall, like more people gambling, probably not a good thing. It's probably not a good behavior. Now, this is a little bit different though, because on prediction markets, unlike traditional gambling, you're not always going to be down, right? The house always wins at a casino, but on these prediction markets, it's not quite that, where you're betting based on your prediction on something occurring or not, and it's not exactly 50-50, and your percentages aren't always less than 50%. If you're educated enough or smart enough or good enough, and yes, luck to a large degree as well, you could come out ahead. And so it's not like exactly like gambling. I understand like the brain chemistry is probably going to be pretty similar, if not identical, about like around the people that get really into it, which is kind of a problem in of itself. But I think this sort of you might dodge some of like the, I think, real concerning elements of gambling, which
Togi has a new
someone
thing
gets
to lose
addicted.
money on.
Yeah, someone gets addicted and then just like inevitably will lose all their money at some point. Mathematically will lose all their money at some point if they keep going.
So my understanding, to add on to what you just said there, my understanding is that how these betting markets work is that they're not one thing, they're not setting up the game, right? Anyone can just like start a bet, and then people can just jump into it. It's like, you're right, they're not like playing with the odds there in the same way. And my understanding is that they make money on like each transaction, like the bets that you make. That's when they make their money, and so it doesn't matter. So if you win or lose, doesn't matter. They've already made their money.
Well, I mean, Kalshi and Polymarket.
I like that actually.
Kalshi and Polymarket are interesting forms of data, right? They have usage beyond. They have functional utility beyond just betting and just gambling. And the reason they have functional utility is there is a different, like all data that we take within economics and sociology suffers from all kinds of biases and all kinds of unintended unknown variables and things like that. And this is true of Kalshi and Polymarket as well. But as a new set of data, it shows it often gets rid of some of those biases while in introducing new ones, right? Like, so a new bias would obviously be those with more money have more purchasing power. Therefore, there's a selection bias towards those with more money, or those that have more money in the game, or those that tend to bet more, right? Things like that. But at the same time, you have a lot of things that are like, oh, this is a self-report survey, right? Who am I going to vote for in 2024? And it's like, okay, a lot of times people will say the thing to a pollster that they know the pollster wants to hear, or say the thing on camera that they want the person to hear, right? But then when you put your money where your mouth is, that shows two things. One, that you have some level of investment, and then the more money you put in, the more invested you are. And so if it's a bad source of data alone, right? If you're using Kalshi or Polymarket to like be like, this is the best data to predict the presidential race or something, you're a fucking idiot. But it can be really, really good at like a better, like opening up the data to go, okay, well, we have these self-report surveys, but then we also have the betting markets, and these things are saying two different things. Why are they saying two different things? They shouldn't be saying two different things. Why is it that the money knows something that the self-report survey doesn't, or vice versa? And it's shit like that can make that, I think that can be like there's value in that, is all I'll say.
Gibbs? Still muted, friend.
Muted.
Still muted.
Nope.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, there we go. Okay, yeah, cool. All right, so we got new mics, new settings, all these things. Anyway, so listen. First,
you do sound better.
I'm fine. Yeah, first
sound
I'm
good.
fine with it. like not because fuck the Native Americans, like Lactoid is saying, but because who is the government? Why
Well,
should
he
the
didn't say
government-
exactly that, to be fair.
Yeah, listen. I'm Spanish descent. I'm perfectly okay with killing the bloodthirsty natives. All right, like you listen. I've been doing some mad research here and reading some documents lately about how evil the Aztecs were, and from other Native American sources to back my thing up. So now, next time someone wants to tell me this bullshit,
Aztecs
already,
were wild. The
I'm
Mayans
ready
were
to
bad.
fucking-
The Aztecs
Well,
were.
let me tell you a quick story
brutal.
before we go into this. I was reading about the king of so there's Aztecs, right? They were basically the strongest city state in their area, and they became the Aztec Empire.
Tenochtitlan, yeah.
Yeah, basically like paid tribute. Well, the king of the Mahia city state sent his daughter to them in order so that they could get married to their prince and become a queen. He was excited.
Oh, I know this one.
He went to go visit him about a year later, and guess who he saw wearing his daughter's skin? Was their high priest.
Yeah.
They flayed her and decided it was a good idea to walk out and have the high priest greet him because it was an honor for his daughter to have been flayed. And he wanted to introduce him, walk him into the thing. And
He did that shit on purpose and like being like,
Yeah.
"You like this, don't you?" They didn't even realize it was a faux pas to wear his daughter as a skin suit.
That's pretty metal.
As I've been with the Spanish, I understand wanting to take away things from the natives. I get it. So, like, let's take away the casinos, I guess. But the real thing is,
White women win again with the Kalshi.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of the government always trying to regulate everything, like for no reason. Like, listen, I worked for like bonesnapper.com for a while doing MMA, right? And journalism when I was doing MMA. And part of what we did is I helped like set the odds, like, and this was just predictions. Like, this is like what I would say if this guy's going to win a fight, odds makers have it at this, I'd give them this if I was an odds maker, right? And because I was not on the official odds makers list, let me just make that clear. But if I was going to be a major man, I pulled the thing they do like college football playoff, right? So, or playoff, the college football live in the morning, right? So I'm sitting here and I would look at this, and I was hitting at 83%. Like, I think this year I hit at 81%, including rounds and methods, and on my MMA picks. And then I hit without the rounds and methods, I'm hitting at like 89 or 92%, right? And I would hit almost 100. But you don't bet that way. What you do is you bet the card, and then you go, okay, well, this guy's an 8-1 underdog. He really should be a 2-1 underdog, right? And so, like, then if you're smart, you'll bet the favorites, and then you'll put all your big bet on that one, and your favorites will win, and it'll cover the card. And 90% of the time, you'll do all right, and you'll win money. So, like, it's just like Lactoid said, these people, if you're educated on the subject, it's not really gambling. And I would even make a further argument: just walking out your door every morning is a gamble. What if I get stabbed by Tweaker John down the way? Like, I can be stabbed by. That's why I carry
by
a
the
gun.
Aztecs, right?
Yeah,
Or a Native American, yeah.
The Aztec spirits come back from my grave and hunt me down, right? Like they're bloodthirsty gods, the man. I'm just saying, like, they'll come and get me one way or the other. Like, listen, I get on a plane, who's to know that Osama bin Laden isn't on that plane with me ready to drive?
Who's to know? Who's to
know? When I get in the car, literally just
I'll tell you this: if Osama bin Laden is on that plane with you, that's a safe plane ride.
Yeah, that's probably. Listen, just a few weeks ago, I got a brand new truck. You know,
he's being transported somewhere for medical equipment, protected by the CIA if he's alive.
No, listen, just literally, like literally last month. So just a few weeks ago, or maybe it's 2 months now, I was giving a friend a ride to work at like 6 a.m. Like, fine. And I nailed an illegal alien going 70. Boom, nailed him. I could have been dead. It's a gamble. I was sitting here not even drinking, not even partying, just taking someone to work, and then I almost died. Every day's a gamble. So, you know what? Maybe we don't need daddy government to hold our hands when it comes to our money. They just need to stay the fuck out.
So,
and if you get addicted to it,
I don't think that's what people mean by gambling, though. To be fair,
no,
right?
no.
Like,
Listen, if
I
you
don't
get
consider
addicted to gambling, you're a bitch. And I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, no, I just
family, and I don't feel bad for you. Learn.
Okay, that's
a lot of Gen Z men.
That's very different. That's very different than what I'm saying. That doesn't have anything to do with what I'm saying. Okay,
I didn't have that anything to do with what you're saying.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying when people. Okay, cool. What I'm trying to say is I don't think that's what people mean when they say gambling, right? I think the term gambling is to refer to betting for money on the outcome of a game or of a future event. You could maybe then say that Polymarket is gambling because it's money on the likelihood of a future event. I think it starts to get into a gray area, but I think mostly, at least when I'm talking about gambling, right? I put Polymarket and Kalshi in maybe like a gray area where it's similar to gambling, but it's a different type of gambling. And when I say gambling, like I don't like gambling because it's degenerate or in general, like not that I'm saying it ought to be illegal, but right. But I'm just, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like when I'm talking about gambling specifically, I am talking about like casinos and games in which the house is favored to win, you know, overwhelmingly and things of that nature, right? Like I'm not per se against Polymarket existing. I think it has functional utility in its ability to procure data and the way that we can use that data. And I also think that it's one of those things that if you have skill, right, you can make money towards a functional use, right? You can make money with your knowledge, and the same thing would be true of like buying stocks, right? Like the reward of your bet per se is, you know, moving capital towards the appropriate area to increase further production, right? Like it is good for all of us when capital investment flows freely and that people are able to participate.
Okay, so and I want to bring in my friend Doobie here. Hopefully, he's listening.
He's
And
placing bets.
maybe. Oh, and no private equity bets because you can actually go into those markets. Like the rest of us here, right?
Let me
like
just fix my
big boy
screen because we have
bets.
this giant retarded banner that makes everybody really small on the screen. So I just gotta
Big
Prime,
boy.
put share
fix
chat on, by the
this.
way, if you can, in the stream together.
Am I? Is it not? Okay, hold on.
I don't
On the StreamYard? Sorry, are you mean in Twitch?
Yeah.
In stream together. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll in a second.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, stream chat. Okay, I just did it. Okay. So to our friend Doobie, like, what are your thoughts on these gambling markets? Now we've talked about gambling before. We've talked about DraftKings specifically, right? We've had a conversation about that. But now, like, like it seems like gambling is invading everything. You can gamble on like literally anything you can place a bet on, right? If you can place a bet on it, you can do so. You can do so from wherever. You can do so from an app, right? Specifically, our friend Lactoid, right? Well, he's my friend, but I don't co-sign all the things he says, right? And his his desire to screw over the Native Americans. He's talking about like how this ease of use, how this opening up of these different markets, right? Like this will scatter the gambling degenerates, right, and eat into their profits. But like the advantage and the thing that was said previously, right? So this was something that
can we change that? I don't know how it might affect me or you in the algorithm to have a literal curse word constantly on the screen. Like that might actually not be. Whatever. I'll just take it.
I'll change. Okay, sure. But anyway, so fuck. What was I gonna say? Where was I? Oh yeah. So before the start, before like gambling was opened up to these online like sports bettors, right? Before that happened, there were people like the fucking Zionist toad, Sheldon Adelson, right? One of the things they were saying is that, well, because he was so concerned about gambling addicts, he's like, well, this is going to like increase gambling addiction, right? Because you're lowering the friction. If you have them come to our casinos in Las Vegas, right? If you have them have to come to a physical place, well, that limits the spread of these things. Like it introduces a useful level of friction between the consumer and gambling, and that is in itself a protection blanket, right? And so don't open it up to all my open up the markets to all my competitors. Please don't do that, right? So I like hearing that, like I dislike that argument. But at the same time, well, look at us now, right? Like we're gambling on fucking everything. And so is this a better a state of affairs than it was previously when you had to go to Vegas or you had to go to the Native American casinos that Lactoid hates of a burning passion? Was that a better state or now? What do you think, DB?
I'm gonna be real with you, okay? So
no.
I tried to follow the conversation. I tried to stay interested, but I've been so rocked by the discovery that Lactoid here is a white nationalist that I just haven't been able to think about anything else for the last few hours.
You're just finding this out now?
Yeah, I didn't
I've known for
realize that
years.
he and counterpoints. I didn't realize that all those people were white nationalists.
Oh, well, I've been telling you for years. I've been telling you for a while now,
counterpoint's
bro.
been an obvious one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
glad that
realize
you
that.
understand now.
It was surprising to me.
glad.
All right. Well, I can answer this question 100% definitively.
I think we should talk
in a
about
way
that more.
that I
think we
know
should
that
talk
both
about that more.
Doobie and Prime Kais will 100% agree with me. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Before Kashi and Poly Market, there have been many supposed brokered ceasefire and peace deals in between Israel and the Palestinians. But after the existence of Kashi and Poly Market, the ability to bet has allowed for real data and money to get behind predicting the potential success or of these things. So you can bet on whether or not a genocide will continue or whether or not it will be deemed one. You can bet on how long it will take Israel to violate
Now's your time,
those ceasefire agreements, which is usually
Like 2
48
seconds.
hours.
It's already
Right. And so therefore the bullshit narrative of politicians about these things can be undermined by the real data of people that put their money where their mouth is in the betting market, and allow more people that want to use that specified knowledge to get and gain money off of the quickness of which Israel stops their ceasefire
what's the
agreement. Therefore,
over and
the
under?
people are now more aware of these things. And so I know for you guys that are so deeply care about the presumed genocide in Gaza, not so much all the Christians being killed in the Congo, because that's not politically convenient for the youth.
Oh no!
But specifically about
those what?
but specifically about what's
what's
going
the
on there,
over-under?
right?
Hold
So
on.
now, so
Crazy.
you
What's the
must
odds at?
look at the prophecies of the money, the prophecies of capital in the betting markets, and
Well, I
know
got
that
10
it is
grand
creating a
right
more
here to put on
informed
somebody breaking the
population.
ceasefire. I want to know where to put it down. What are the odds
Well,
right now?
you'd lose, but there's no odds right now because
Yeah.
they've already broken it like 10 times.
Yeah, more than
Yeah.
that. They've been bombing constantly. Yeah.
Well,
man.
like 10 times is the last update I heard. There's that number can go from smaller to
They're
larger
little
depending on
violations.
like which source you believe.
Just, yeah,
to what
little,
degree, whatever.
little
Well,
bombings,
yeah,
right?
like
But
little
we can
baby
clearly
violations.
say
Not a
that
big-
What
there
about
have
the Maduro?
been
What about
some
the Obama
bombings.
It's not
first
as
named
it
president
was.
of Venezuela? What are
And
those?
it's not as it was, but like that's not how a ceasefire works, right? It's not like, oh well, yes, you slowed down, so I guess it's like it doesn't.
Actually-
bombings between friends.
Actually,
Well, it depends on how you
in
define it.
reality, though, in
Most
reality,
ceasefires
that
do
has
have-
been how every ceasefire historically has worked.
See,
Yeah, but it's actually in the hundreds, not 10. I don't know where the 10 came from. I
Yeah,
think it's
like they keep doing it.
around 500 or something ceasefire violations and like almost 300 bombings.
Okay,
Yeah, those-
sure.
what do they
Sure.
really count?
That was the last time I looked. Okay, I'm not checking in on Israel Palestine news every day. I'm just not. Like it was. Roll with it, brother. Don't get offended by the number. I'm
Not
not
offended,
offended
I'm just saying.
behind the number.
I'm just saying.
I don't know where you're getting
Way-
that
it's way
number
more than-
from. It's like, come
No,
on.
I'm just letting you know if that's what you think it is. You're way behind. Okay, I'm just trying to help you out. That was like an hour into it. Okay.
Yeah. They've killed over 300 individuals. I forget where the tally is right now. But like, yeah, Israel has just not stopped. And also for the ceasefire in Lebanon, they keep bombing southern Lebanon. They just keep doing that. Like just on a regular basis since like was it a year ago or so when that happened. They've just kept bombing southern Lebanon. So yeah, just keep that in mind. In any case, that's not where I meant to
My
go.
family got out of Lebanon in the 70s, so like I could give a rat's
So you
ass.
got mine. You're good. Yeah,
I'm
Like
good.
a conservative. Yeah, sure. but,
Yeah, just stop stealing my money for it. All right, like.
Yeah. So well, Doobie, the thing that I was talking to people about like the expansion of like betting markets. And like we have like a Poly Market and Kalshi and DraftKings and all that, right? And more people like I think you've said this before. Actually, I forget what you said. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I've said before is that like, yeah, I tend to be a social libertarian on these things, right? I want to give people the freedom to do what they want with their body, with their money, right? Like that's their business, not my business. But at the same time, like I can also understand that there is a degradation of society, right? Like families are worse off if the father like pisses away like the money, right? If that happens.
Yeah.
And uh, like kids, like young individuals are worse off if we're creating an environment where more of them will be gambling addicts, where otherwise they wouldn't have been, right? Maybe otherwise they wouldn't have gone to casino, or maybe casinos aren't necessarily their thing, but this is their thing, and so like we're making a sicker society, and especially since we live like right now in an economic downturn, right? Made by Trump. An economic downturn that where people are
Trump,
desperate.
really?
Exacerbated by Trump, excuse me. Where
100% agree now.
Yeah. Where people are desperate and they're looking any way to like make money, right? Where they feel like the American dream is imaginary, right? And so if they can do it through betting, right? Maybe they can be that one person who makes $1 million goddamn dollars. And so keeping that in mind, should we be limiting these gambling opportunities?
Fuck no. And listen, I got 5
I think
words
so.
for people that suck at it. Like, listen, it's 5 words. It's fuck no, get good scrub. Or we can replace the first ones. Fuck them, get good scrub. I don't give a shit about little Timmy because daddy spent his
Just
money.
say get good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, daddy should have got good. He went and spent his little college fund, whatever. He spent money for his wheelchair. I guess you're crawling to school, little Timmy. Be mad at daddy. Don't be mad at daddy government. I like, it's ridiculous that you expect me to pay daddy government to take care of your ass because your daddy was bad. Or even if you know your daddy. Most of these guys are probably degenerates who knocked up somebody and then left, and now they're wasting their money. They don't take care of their kids anyway. These kids weren't going to see the money. At least let these fucking guys waste it on someone that will spend the money. Probably me, as I take their money in these gambling things. That's probably what's going to happen because I apparently was not as in on this gambling market as I should have been. And now that I'm researching it, holy fuck, we do not need to regulate this. This is goddamn glorious. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Doobie.
Thanks, Git, for the resub. I appreciate that. And Doobie. I'm forgetting everyone's name recently. Doobie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally disagree with Gibbs. I think that so I agree, Prime. I'd like for everybody to just be able to do whatever the fuck they want. Unfortunately, people have limited resources. We are walking meat bags susceptible to manipulation of not just our attitudes, but like our chemical responses, right? As we're going to discuss later with the Ozempic topic or the sugar topic. So I think that unfortunately, given that these things, we are susceptible to these things, and these things do have a detrimental effect on our society, I think they need guardrails. I think that we need to impose those guardrails to keep people from destroying themselves and as a consequence, their families.
What's the limiting principle to that belief?
And I think, one second, and I think that Prem, what you said earlier, right, about people feeling desperate and looking for a way to basically like find a way out of the hole, I think that is 1 trillion % true. I think that there is like a sense of desperation that people have, going to the same shitty job every day, not really getting ahead, going paycheck to paycheck, and they want to find marketable skills to climb their way up, but they feel like it's hopeless or whatever the fuck. So just like bashing their head against the wall, and they'll try a thing here or there, but a lot of these things are like exploitative, right? Just trying to take away their money, just trying to like suck up their time and money so that the creators can get a profit while these people are just stuck in the same spot. I think people will go through that and they get to this point where it's like, okay, well, doing it the right way, quote unquote, isn't working. Maybe I can get lucky and just make a bet here, and I'm going to do my research. But then it's fucking gambling, right? You're basically gambling. So I'm make this bet, and maybe I'll be able to pull myself up. Maybe I'll get ahead a little bit, and that'll allow me to get out of this hole. And I think these people know that, right? These owners of these companies know this, right? And so they're looking for those people. They advertise for those people specifically, right? So it's very predatory. I think it does need guardrails.
So what's the limiting principle there? Like what makes like if people can be
Glad
influenced
to
by
hear you
marketing or by like something that, you know, tricks their brain in some way to maybe make them make a choice that they wouldn't have made. Like where do we draw this line, and for what reason do we draw the line there?
I think that's where it gets difficult, right? And I guess we're going to talk later about the sugar thing and how they are like making sugar.
Well, yeah,
yeah, that's kind of
where it gets difficult. Is where I require logical
like,
consistency of your arguments.
No, it's not logical consistency. It's figuring out exactly where the line is, right? So, I personally, I think I would ban all advertising to, for like fast food, for example, all advertising for candy. I'd just straight up ban these fucking gambling companies, to be honest with you.
Right, but like where's the limiting principle? What is it? What is it that changes it from this is acceptable advertising or acceptable? Okay, but that's just a whim. That's just a vibe.
No, it's not a whim.
You just said I vibe it out. Well, okay. Well, if it's not a vibe, tell me where that principle comes from, right? Because like by your argument, I could say, well, we need to ban all makeup products in the United States because makeup changes the sexual attractiveness of women. And because of this, women are able to influence men in some degree. Actually, we need to ban all revealing clothing. All women need to wear burqas because women that have makeup or wear clothing that shows their face, this can be, well, actually, some women have a sexy voice, so all women will be legally mandated to wear a voice modulator so that and a mesh veil, but underneath their niqab, so that there's no. Fuck. Some women might have a higher vocabulary. So we need an AI on the voice modulator to translate so that every woman has the exact same type, tonality, and word usage in their speech. Oh, fuck. Well, some women might move in a sensual way. So we actually need to create a robotic arm exoskeleton that makes it to where they all move. Like if you don't have a limiting principle, or an actual reason other than this feels bad or this feels principled, then the logic of your argument could be used to the extent that we run out of money and we run out of paper to write laws on, right? Like you could take it forever. So like, where is that line? And you can't just say, oh, well, this feels bad. And then I say, well, that's just a vibe. And then you go, no, it's not, because the word predatory.
Yeah, I don't think it is a vibe. Yeah, I think it's pretty simple to. So this company specifically targeting this group of people. This group of people is low income, or just the bottom of the tax bracket or whatever the fuck, and they're doing this for the purpose of getting these people onto their online casino to blow all the very little expendable money they have, or maybe even their fucking rent money, right? And then a lot of times
you haven't given a limiting principle.
It's not a vibe. It's literally the purpose of these apps. It's the
reason you're literally just describing the
stream on Twitch and on Rumble.
To
get young guys and kids involved into gambling, into the thrill of gambling, to get them addicted to that thrill, so they can go and waste all their parents' money.
You're going to one end of the spectrum of things that people find distasteful or people find immoral, and then you're saying, "See, this is easy," but you haven't given a line or a limiting principle. You haven't given any principled reason as to why one thing ought be illegal and one thing ought allow people the freedom to act as they choose. You've just saying, if I go to this end where everybody kind of agrees that we don't like this, therefore it's easy to say that this ought be illegal because we vibed out that this is bad. Okay, but you haven't given a principle. You haven't given a distinction between the most minute means of psychological manipulation that are common practice versus those that most people find distasteful.
Yeah, I don't think you need some like set in stone limiting principle, quote unquote, that would apply to every single situation. I think these are going to be
so it's a vibe.
If you want to call that a vibe, sure. I think that's how the world actually works. Right. I think that when people make laws, typically there is no limiting principle. When
error of regression remains immortal.
It's just say, I think this thing is bad. I'd like to make this thing bad. Enough people agree with me to make this thing bad. That's it. It really is that simple. Right. So what I'm describing is how the world actually works. I understand that you are fixated on this idea that everything needs to be like philosophically consistent. That isn't reality. I think most people don't think like that.
Well, I think that you just admitted that you are engaged in whim worship and that your view of reality is that reality is not consistent. And when you state that reality conflicts with philosophical or logical consistency, then what you prove is that you have an ideology that is groundless and is based off of your preferences of might makes right. Your ideology is the same as a caveman with a big stick that says I'll take what I want because I prefer it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the caveman with the big stick is the one that wins. That's why we have the society that we have, right? So enough cavemen get together, and your egghead philosophical
I agree.
nonsense,
Yeah,
begging for everything to be like consistent is meaningless because the caveman bonks you on the head and moves on. So like
Exactly.
I think that's how the world is actually set up, and given that I exist in the world as it actually is, this is what I'm pushing for.
right. So
let in
you've given up on ethics
like
and civility.
Might makes right. Biggest.
I don't
defend
think
Doobie a
those
little.
are real.
Let me defend
I don't know
Doobie's
that
position,
position.
but on
I
a
think
topic
you
that I
should
care
have just
about.
stopped it. I don't think.
Your audio lag is a little off.
Yeah, Lactoid, your audio is like yeah, try it again. Test
It's a
it.
little fuzzy. We can hear you, but it's a little, I don't know, distorted.
It's
a little
like, yeah, it's distorted now. I don't
Sounds
know why.
like sounds like you have like a loose cable or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Did you also want to say something, Gibbs? It's hard for me to interpret your goddamn sign language. You're doing a lot of gestures to the camera. I don't know which one.
He's trying to zoom in all the
well,
time. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that, man, I'm glad that Doobie's had this revelation and now is on board with that. The world is just a might makes right society. As I've been saying, a lot of Nostradamus predictions and statements are
different?
coming true. I'm really just a prophet.
Yeah, sounds
You're
better
good
now.
now.
Yeah, sounds
Well,
good.
hold on,
But
Gibbs.
yeah,
I've
that's
always
fine.
known this. We just disagree as to like where that might should take us, or which might is.
I mean,
right.
that's true.
Yeah, you both
Okay.
agree on whim worship. You just have different values.
So let me. I'm gonna
Oh, it's
defend
back.
Now it's
I'm gonna
back.
defend Doobie's. God damn it! What the fuck? Why is it? Why?
Turn it off and turn it back on again. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, take your time, friend. I'll still be here. Okay. Well, Doobie and Scott can argue against each other again, but
Yeah, I was trying to let
so
Lactoid in.
Yeah, it's good for right now, right? And then it's gonna get bad in a second.
it's not good
Keep
for
going.
right
Keep
now.
going.
It wasn't good for right
Hold
now.
on.
It
It
was just
sounded
bad.
like it got better at the end there.
And then it got better at the end, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
All right.
I think your mic might be dying. I just
I
watched
think
you
it
push
probably
it in.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Still good. Still good.
Yeah.
good.
Still good.
All right, we're just gonna roll with it, and if it fucks up, sorry. I'm gonna defend Doobie's position, but not on that the topic that you guys were arguing about, but on the hypothetical that you brought up regarding makeup, because that one
It's close
I'm
to
more
his
experienced
heart,
in
like
defending
the Native
my
Americans.
position. uh,
The topics
I
of our
think it's
time, makeup
perfectly
and Native
fine.
Americans.
I think there's a lot of topics.
Before you say
where
anything, just so
there-
you know, chat, this guy pretends to be a libertarian.
Yeah. I'm actually a socialist, but I pretend to be a libertarian. Just
I
think that
hold on, I'm
there-
not going to call you a socialist anymore. Okay, I'm not gonna.
He
All right,
is a
not unless
socialist.
I'm
He has some
unless
pretty-
I'm forced to
pretty
define
heavy
it or
tank
something.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
just going to call you a tourist.
The
No,
fuck
he's a
is that?
tanky, bro. He's been pretending.
No, you're in,
Like,
in
tank, yeah.
libertarianism. You're a tourist.
Yeah,
He's
he
da-
is a
he's
tourist. That's a
dabbling
good way.
in
He's a socialist
libertarianism.
tourist.
Tourist.
You're a libertarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
You're just checking out the scenery of
Whatever.
libertarianism.
Yeah,
I'm
you know, like
taking
when
a
people come
stroll.
in and want to change the gaming industry, and then like they don't know anything about the games that they're trying to change, right? Or they're like, oh, actually,
really you're calling
this
me
is
an
why
immigrant,
Zelda
is
needs
what-
trans representation. You know what I mean? It's like, and then you find out that they don't know anything about.
I think
Legend
Scott
of
is open
Zelda or
borders
whatever.
now, so it's okay.
Oh, good. Good. You're open borders now, so you want to let me in. All right. So,
Go ahead, Lactoid.
I think that is perfectly reasonable, and it's actually necessitated oftentimes to have a sufficiency position when it comes to drawing lines. So a couple examples of this is when it comes to all fraud, there obviously is like going to be some line between puffery and deception. You're allowed to make your product look good. You just can't intend to get the person to believe that they're getting something that they're not, right? There's kind of this fine line between putting on your best suit and trying to like put forward a good image and being overtly deceptive. And makeup, depending on how it's done, is a little bit difficult on this, where exactly the line is, because I think we would all agree that like catfishing somebody would be obviously some kind of like deception, like some kind of fraud. But I've seen some women that wear makeup in a certain way where they're essentially catfishing in real life, right? They look as though they are somebody entirely different than they are. And also, we have to draw a line when it comes to certain laws regarding what people can do. Sometimes we have to put like lines, and just for the purposes of this conversation, I'll make it very easy. We have a line at 21 for alcohol. And if you don't agree with that, well, we have a line at 18 for owning property or joining the military. And you might say, well, every individual.
We have these other status whims.
Yeah. We have these.
Therefore, why not have these? Why not add new ones?
I don't think they're whims. I think what it is you're looking at, like, you're weighing interests, and you're looking at this is a sufficient level of development for this person to be able to be responsible for X, or this is a sufficient level of difference from what they're selling.
I don't think they're whims.
To be deception.
Whims.
To be deception.
And so,
like, there's no fraud in makeup. There's no fraud in makeup.
Well,
I can prove it to you right now. What's one of the principal elements of fraud? You're a lawyer. You know there are 9 principal elements of fraud, right? Under English common law, right? One of the big differentiations of fraud is your ability to meaningfully be able to find out whether or not the statement is true. Do you know that makeup changes the face?
It's not an element.
That is absolutely an element.
No, it's whether or not the person had an intent to deceive and whether or not the person was deceived. It's not whether or not they could have found out that you were deceived.
I said the 9 principal elements of fraud under English common law.
Hold on.
One of those is like if someone says this is the greatest vacuum ever, is it reasonable? Like if a person can just do a quick Google search and go, oh, that's not the greatest vacuum ever, then it's not fraud to say that this is the greatest vacuum ever.
Well, that's what I was looking at. Can you tell us what you think the age consent should be for sex? And I'm not trying to do like a gotcha or anything. I'm just actually curious, like what your limiting principle on that would be.
I would say that without parental consent, I would say 25.
Why?
I don't think that there is no perfect age, right? So every group is every community is going to have to figure that out. You asked my personal distinction, right? I would say it's 25. But I also think that at any moment you ought be able to get parental consent towards emancipation. And if you can prove that you are a moral actor, a moral agent that is, aware of the consequences of your actions in that domain, then you ought be able to just be emancipated from whatever.
So if like a 13-year-old are able to do that, right? Like a very intelligent, mature 13-year-old who were able to do that, you would say that they should be able to emancipate themselves and then have sex with a 30-year-old?
I would say that would be morally wrong and that 13-year-old would be an outlier, but yeah.
I see. Okay.
Like I would be absolutely against it. I'd kick this motherfucker out. Right? Like I would.
But Scott,
like I don't. I think if a 13-year-old could prove, if the rare 13-year-old could prove that they have all of the intellectual capacity,
9-year-old,
which would have to be like it would have to be a distinct. Yeah.
So
if you live in a
it would be like 1 in a million 13. No, hold on. Don't interrupt
hold on.
me.
We have a historical
so that I can
example of this.
only be
Muhammad and
clipped
Aisha.
on this,
Married
and I
at
can't
7,
describe this
9
in
years old.
context. Advocates, go fuck yourself and shut up. And you too, right? Like I'm going to be able to fully explain this, right? Because I'm biting the bullet on age of consent. Let me fucking finish. God damn. Right? Like I think that we were talking about an absolutely unique individual that would have to prove that action. And I still think that it would be immoral to do so for a whole host of reasons, right? Like, I don't think there will ever be a special 9-year-old because I just don't think it's statistically possible for that to occur. And I think the actual act of engaging in sex would actually be physically harmful at that point anyways. But yes, there could be without a doubt, there could be a special per se 13-year-old that was capable of that understanding. I just think that it would be extremely rare.
Yeah,
that is why I would set up a system that would say, yes, there's an age of majority, and then you would need parental permission, right? And you would need parental permission with this, or you would have to have, let's say, this super special 13-year-old go to a magistrate or a judge, whatever the local community has set up, and be able to petition for their. No, it doesn't. You're just throwing out dipshit words to try.
No, listen. I mean,
no, it doesn't. Shut up.
All this?
I've had these
Okay, who
conversations with
decides
you a
that the
million
9-year-old is
times.
special
You're
or not?
asking the same questions you asked the first time you ever encountered
You're not
anarcho-capitalism.
answering
Actually,
So
that's a
either you're
good question, though.
too,
So
either
in
you're
your
too
framework,
retarded
your
to
anchor
remember
framework,
our
like, who
previous
decides that the 9-year-old is
conversations
special
where
or
you're
not?
throwing
That's a
shit,
good question.
trying to throw.
Who's this? No, I'm not trying. Like, who's
Yes,
deciding?
we've had these
who's
No,
the special
I
boy?
refuse to answer a question I've answered for you 100 times. You've known me for
Okay,
so
well,
long,
answer
you already
his.
know the answer.
Answer his.
I'm
answer
not.
his
I'm not
question
answering
then.
the question. I'm not
Oh.
answering
Okay,
your
so if
monkey
Muhammad were
wrench
reborn
question.
today, right, and he had a special
Uh-huh.
9-year-old Aisha, who decides that she's special enough to fuck?
Who decides if Muhammad were born today, he'd be killed for a whole host of reasons, right? So it would
Okay.
have to be a different guy named Muhammad that was reborn
Call him
today,
Omar.
creating a
Okay,
different
Omar reborn
religion,
today.
right? Omar,
Different religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So again, like, who decides is a means of whether or not humans are capable of discovering reality, and whether or not which they are, and whether or not those humans actually discover reality is statistically there are going to be times where they don't, right? So in a local community, you are going to have mistakes. My ideology is not utopic, right? So it's absolutely true that in a community, if we run this test 1,000 times, 1 out of 1,000 times, there's going to be a community of sick fucks that get it wrong, or that don't appropriately discover reality. That's not the question. The question is in reality, is there ever in the history of humanity one 13-year-old who is sufficiently wise and sufficiently intellectually capable of being able to be a
test.
full-blown? Just because we use the same word doesn't mean that yours isn't wind worship.
No,
I'm
it's
describing
literally a
something completely
sufficiency test in the same way I was using it. You're
Okay,
saying when
you're not
something hits a
attempting
certain
to
point,
you're not
the
attempting
rules
to
change.
discover reality of natural law. What
You're
doing
saying
is
when
you're
something
trying
hits
to
a certain
create wind
point-
worship. No,
No,
you don't
you're
get
saying
to
when
ju-
something
you
hits a
don't
certain
understand
point-
the words.
you're
That's not
saying when
true.
something
That's
hits
not
a
true.
certain point, the rules change. That is literally
No,
the point that I was making. That's the point that Doobie
And
made.
where that point is going to be really
No,
flexible.
yours is
on the
based off of a
person's
whim. If you don't have a
situation,
limit,
No.
if you have no limiting principle, but then you have a sufficiency test without a limiting principle, then you're not discovering anything other than your own fucking values and whims that you collectively hold as a society. That's
but what's
very
the limiting
different
principle?
than the limiting principle is the individual a moral actor that is fully intellectually capable of discerning the consequences of their actions in the long term? Do they have the
That's
brain
probably similar to
capacity
lactoids.
Yeah,
to
but we're
be
not
able
really
to think
able
into
to
the long term?
ascertain whether
Some
Efficiently, yeah.
Yeah, we're not able to really
Let's
figure
just-
out if that's fact, right? We can try to determine it, right? But we're not going to be able to say 100% objectively.
Agreed.
this is
Agreed.
true.
That's why I said that. I'm not utopic. Sometimes mistakes are made. Right. The
Sometimes
question
Bob
is
Saget
it
gets the job as the
is it reality that
Bob
that an
Saget.
individual has?
Yeah, he
now,
thought the Ashley
my
kids were very
age of
developed on
consent,
Full House.
my age of consent as the default would be 25 without parental permission or emancipation, because it is of my opinion that most adults are most 19-year-olds are not at that point, that they are not developed enough, both philosophically might have an effect on that age, right? In our current day, that our education might have an effect on that, physical development, brain development. It is of my opinion that most 19-year-olds are not capable of making the decision fully independently about the long-term consequences of their sexual activity, right? Do I think there's a 1 in a million 13-year-old that is capable of that? Clip it and ship it. I know I know people are going to want to use that as be like, oh, age of consent libertarianism. But I do think that there's probably a 1 in a million 13-year-old that is capable of that. But if a 30-year-old wants to fuck that 13-year-old, I have problems with that. That in that 1 in a million scenario, it might not be a violation of the non-aggression principle. But for the same reason, I don't think it's good that we have slaughterhouses of pigs, or the same reason that I think a lot of things are immoral, is that I'm worried that that 13-year-old is without a doubt a pedophile searching for this special exception that they get permission on because they're attracted to fucking prepubescent individuals and they want to fuck prepubescent individuals. And that person's a giant red flag for the safety of my community. And we should be watching them with a hawk eye or getting them out of our fucking community.
Okay, so I just wanted to respond. Everything that was underneath all that was a sufficiency test, right? When you're talking about the age of consent, we're talking about, well, we have this general set of rules, and when a certain point is hit,
Sufficiency
in
test of
age,
what principle?
when a certain point is hit, the rules change. the question when it comes to age of consent, or when it comes to age to buy alcohol, cigarettes, etc., or join the military, is we're looking at, does the person have sufficient brain development, life experience, what we generally call maturity, to consent to things.
Your
to
test
make decisions
fails.
For them,
That's
to make decisions.
Because you're
wait, you ranted for a
Let
very
him
long
finish.
time, sir. Does it hit a certain point where they are now sufficiently mature to begin making decisions for themselves? Has that tipping point been hit?
That's
to
not
now
a
there's
sufficiency
now
test
there is a
because
now there
you're
is
not
a
discovering
new,
eliminating principle.
Old enough is a sufficiency test. Old
You need
enough to do this.
No, this is stupid.
Yes,
you need
it
an
is.
underlying
It
principle.
is.
No, hold on.
Yes,
You're okay.
it is.
That only
It
makes
is.
sense if it's
It
done
is.
at an individual
Scott,
level.
Scott,
that is not what you are doing.
Scott, no,
you are
no, no.
saying
You can
at
have a
what point
heuristic.
Does a majority? No, your
You can have a
your
heuristic
definition
for a
is based
sufficiency
off
test.
of a whim. You're basing it off of a whim.
My desire to have an age of
which is-
consent is based off a whim.
No. What you are saying is when I say that there is, when I'm saying that someone is sufficiently gaining something, I have a principle. The principle is that this individual, this person, whatever age they may be, is a rational actor.
And how does that
full
happen?
Capacity to understand that.
Is
When
it
you're
brain
doing a
development?
when you're
and
doing
maturity
a
and life experience?
When you're doing a quote unquote sufficiency test, you're trying to create a whim. You're trying to create a
You're
rule.
just
for
using a
all
word.
People. No, you're creating. You're
Yeah,
not
you
creating
are.
A rule based
I'm
upon a
saying the
principle.
thing you're saying, and then you're saying
you're
lactoid. You're
creating
just saying it's
test
a whim.
for a whim.
It's just a whim.
No,
Scott.
you're fucking lying,
Scott,
or you're
Scott,
retarded, and
Scott,
you should be disbarred.
Scott.
One of the two. You're either
okay.
lying or
Scott.
you should be disbarred.
Yeah,
because you're too because you're too stupid.
No, you're.
Listen,
Everybody
I've
can
made
see.
it
Everybody
very
can see
clear.
this. Now, hey,
I made it very, very clear. I've made
no,
it
you're not.
very, very clear, and you are
No, you're
lying
not.
right now. Okay, there is a
Well,
principle.
it should be obvious. It
and-
should be obvious to
No.
everyone. You've had plenty of time to explain yourself, okay? And
No,
when
no,
I try,
just think
you
the
jump in
general
and cut me
audience is
off
dumber
every 2
than
seconds.
you are. The general audience is even
so-
dumber than you are, and you're being
So
retarded.
so you get plenty of talking
do
time,
not-
Scott. I would like
Okay,
to
hey,
finish
so
my
we gotta
thought.
get like
All right, I'll let-
I would
gotta
like.
respond.
I would like.
Let's
I would
see if
like
you
to
actually
finish my
respond.
thought.
I highly doubt you will, but go ahead.
I understand we disagree about this, okay, and we disagree very strongly. I don't think I don't. I
What is
certainly
the
don't think
principle?
I'm lying.
Answer. What is
Now,
the principle?
I'm not going to.
What is the limiting
No,
principle?
no. I'm going to speak on my own accord. All right, you can save your questions for the end. When I'm talking about a sufficiency test, you brought up, is somebody a rational being? But in order for somebody to become a rational being, if we're talking about age, there's obviously some sufficiency of something before somebody becomes a rational being. There's some sufficiency of brain development, like a certain amount of brain development, certain structures, certain cells, etc. It starts hitting a point.
So what's the
Combine that with
principle?
hold up. Combine that with life experience, like that we generally put together and refer to as maturity. So there is a sufficiency before we hit somebody is capable of being a rational person, whether somebody is capable of consenting to something, right?
So what's the principle?
In order to determine the principle is somebody developed enough to consent?
Okay, so
the
that's
question.
an individual. That would be an
Yes.
individual, right?
Well, wait, you're correct, but sometimes in society we have to generate heuristics in order to.
So a fucking whim. I win. Shut the fuck up, Lactoid.
If you think heuristics, and maybe I agree, you're against all laws, so I guess maybe you actually do hold.
No,
this
I'm not
very
against all
consistently.
laws. I'm against.
well,
I'm against
well,
ones that violate the non-aggression principle.
What law is not a heuristic?
What?
What law? We have laws that say
You
okay,
ought not violate the non-aggression principle.
Okay, if
That's not
I
a heuristic.
sure, if I get drunk,
You ought
and
not
I go,
steal.
If,
That's
if
not a
I get
heuristic.
if I get drunk and go 85 miles an hour,
You
past
ought
a
not
kindergarten-
murder. That's not a heuristic.
Hey!
God.
If I get drunk and go 85 miles an hour past a kindergarten, should that be illegal?
What?
If I get
Drinking
drunk,
and driving.
so, hey, answer the question. If I get drunk and go 85 miles an hour past a
I
kindergarten,
will answer the question.
should
I will
that
answer
be
the question.
illegal?
I promise you that I will answer this question in detail.
Mhm.
If you admit that there is no underlying principle to what you said, that you were trying to
there's
steal
of course
the
a
word,
principle.
trying to steal the. Oh, what was it? You didn't name it. The
I
principle was
did.
a heuristic, was a
Consent.
whim
Consent
based
is the
off of a
principle.
collectivist.
No, heuristic
No,
is
it
not
isn't.
whim.
Mine,
Heuristic is not
the ability to
heuristic
consent
not
is
whim.
my principle.
What do you think heuristic means?
Heuristic is a low resolution means by which humans map reality so that they can deal with things no longer at like an individual basis, but like in day-to-day activities, so that they can like move about their lives. Right? It's a cognitive process.
It's a generalized attempt to solve it's a pragmatic attempt to solve a generalized problem.
Okay, so pragmatism and whim worship is what I accuse you of, and you just keep doubling down on pragmatism and whim worship, and then pretending like you're not doing that and getting angry.
Are you going to answer the question
when I'm right?
Are you going to answer the
sure.
question?
So you won't, but that's okay. I will respond. Should it be illegal to get drunk and drive by a kindergarten? I believe that private properties should, sure, 85 miles an hour. I believe that private property owners that own a road ought make it a law on their road to not drink and drive, and they should probably have some speed limit around where children are. I believe private property owners absolutely should do that. Yeah.
But I'm a really good driver. So doesn't this like general like heuristic rule unfairly apply to me?
Absolutely, yeah.
So when you say that should be against the rule, aren't you applying a heuristic?
No, I said you asked me what I think ought be.
And why ought that be? Why should that rule apply to me? Wait, why should that rule apply to me?
Well, if you don't want it to apply to you, use a different road.
No, I'm not asking about whether or not the property owner has a right to establish a speed limit.
The individual actoid.
You asked me whether
what I'm asking you
whether it ought be illegal. I think that the private property ought to make that rule.
I'm sure, but a private property, you think they can make any rule, whether it has justification or not. My question for you is what is the Yes. So my question for you is what is the justification for applying any kind of rule against me, the good driver, why I can't drive drunk 85 miles an hour past a kindergarten? Why shouldn't the private property owner allow me to do it?
Because it's likely to lead to deaths of children, and it would be
likely. It's likely to lead to something. Right.
But not for Lactoid, because he's the best driver.
But you agree there's like different risk profiles between maybe me and somebody who's a worse driver.
Yeah, there's a difference here between what I believe would be good for a private property owner to enact as rules on their private property that would lead towards the outcomes that I prefer, which is a preference, right? Versus what is against natural law for the state to collectively impose upon people against their will. If you want to drive drunk 85 miles an hour, then go pick a fucking road where you're allowed to drive drunk 85 miles an hour. But do I think a private property owner that has a road next to a kindergarten, do I think they should or should not create a rule that says you can't be drunk and you can't do 85 next to the kindergarten? Yes, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think that if a private road, if they want to establish a rule saying you can't drive 85 miles an hour drunk past a kindergarten, I would say, look, this might not apply equally to every single driver, but what the property owner here is doing is they're going with a heuristic. They say, well, generally speaking, the risk profile generated by driving 85 miles an hour past a kindergarten drunk is sufficiently high. The risk profile is sufficiently high that I'm going to have a rule in place.
You're using sufficiently now. That bans like a magic word. You're not saying anything I disagree with.
That bans that activity. Now, if we're gonna, again, deal with the world that we're in, which we have public roads past.
I'm dealing with the world that I'm in.
We have public roads. You would agree. And so I'm guessing that in the world we live in, where we have public roads going past public kindergartens, and you just said we're dealing in the real world, I am sure that you would not be in favor of, maybe I'm wrong, you would not be in favor of legalizing drunk driving at 85 miles an hour past U.S. kindergartens, are you?
I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't oppose it, right? But I certainly wouldn't support it because I don't think it's a good tactic to bring about the destruction of public property, which is a contradiction. It's a violation of rights to have public roads to begin with.
You wouldn't oppose laws that would prohibit this activity?
Anything that is getting rid of a state law, I will not directly oppose, no matter what that state law is.
Wait. Prime. Right? One second. Age of consent.
But I would think that, I would get rid of them. I would get rid of literally any law imposed by the state.
Okay. Gibbs.
Now, if some Muslim wants to marry a 9-year-old girl, I'll still blow his brains out. Come after my 9-year-old daughter, I'll definitely blow his brains out. Right? But again, the state is a contradiction in term, like the concept of the state creating a law that is good cannot exist. There's no such thing as a good law by the state.
Whether it be whether it be the state or whether it be in private like industry, like people are always and still and will always deal in heuristics and when it comes to justifying anything that they do. And I think that when we're talking about, well, there is something that we think is sufficiently unjustified. Yeah, we think it's sufficiently unjustified, whether it be sufficiently deceptive, whether it be somebody who's insufficiently developed, or I guess what Doobie was arguing, and I don't agree with
I don't
Doobie,
disagree with any of this.
What Doobie was arguing that something is like sufficiently dangerous. It's not philosophically inconsistent to oppose something because it passes some kind of threshold, whether you have a direct limiting factor or not.
For you to engage in argumentation and then justify the state doing those things based off of wind worship. That is philosophically inconsistent.
Yeah. So first, I've been sitting here while we've been talking about wind worship, and fucking heuristics for the last little bit.
Wind worship was when we were talking about the Native Americans.
Yeah. And while we've been listening to all that, I want to apologize to Doobie. Doobie was absolutely correct, by the way. You have always said the might makes right, and we fall on different sides of where that's good and bad. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is kind of the problem I really have with this. Say, like, I live in Ancapistan and Fabian lives in Libertaria. You know, he lives in this different community and he has all his rules and he's talking about whatever. I in Ancapistan, my first problem is if we get together as a community and all of our private property owners and we like decide that we're going to collectively make laws, right? Like that's going to govern whether or not you can live in our private community. I don't really see that fundamentally as any different than the state. And the second problem is, and so when you're like,
very quick, I'll respond. I don't know how you don't see it because we've had so many conversations, but I'll point out the very big difference. You said it yourself, voluntarily together. That's it. Right. That's the difference.
Sure. I get that, right? But here's the problem.
Okay, so you do see the difference. You were lying.
Well, no, I'm gonna explain why I have a problem with that.
He's accusing everybody of lying. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, just stop lying.
Well, I'm not lying. And
nobody here is lying.
Just let me explain why.
What are the 9 criteria for lying, Lactoid?
Yeah, and he wasn't right, by the way, on that
time you were lying.
So here's the problem I have. Right? Okay,
then I wouldn't be lying if you were wrong.
And like in my mind, this all comes down to a might makes right thing. We've gotten the group as a collective. We've come together and formed laws, and we're going to use our collective property and our might to make sure those laws are agreed upon in our community. Fundamentally, to me, even if you would agree upon that, and that group agrees upon that, if you have children, they didn't necessarily agree on that. You know, all these other things. I guess they could get emancipated, but then it comes down to who's deciding this emancipator. And you know, I guess you're right in the idea, Fabian, that you could say, yeah, it's not utopic. Maybe you get a group of cannibals together and they make up a group, decide some bad laws. You know, that's not a good utopic society, you know, but this is an overarching thing. But I think the problem I'm having is that comes back to the might makes right thing. And if we get a society that decides, hey, we're going to put in Diddy and Ghislaine Maxwell as the deciders over when they can consent,
right?
And they're king of diddling in fucking Ancapistan is Diddy, you know, we got a problem. Like he's going to be like the magistrate, you know, and like we know that bad people get together and they'll organize and bad people are going to get that job there.
Yeah, I agree.
And so once again, this comes down to the might makes right thing. What's that group of people going to do? They're going to be like, well, we should expand our private property, and they're going to use their might to expand this influence to other areas around them, one way or the other. And whether that's through commercial means or through physical violence or political violence, I don't see that as any different at like a fundamental level than a state doing it. Like I get where you're going to want to argue the nitty gritty, but like if we're looking at like a macro, it's not any different. Like, there's no difference.
Well, it is. It's very simple.
And like the U.S. puts the army in to go kill everybody.
It's very simple. It's very simple, right? I absolutely agree with you that like if we had 1,000 Liechtensteins, right, and one of them is at least one of them, almost statistically speaking, is almost certainly going to turn into like some warlord state or something, right?
Tortuga.
And like and here's the thing, right? You know, we're gonna have there's gonna be Ancapistan, and there's gonna be what would you call it, Liberia instead of Liberia, Libertaria. Okay, so Ancapistan and Libertaria exist, and then there's like this area of unhomesteaded land, or let's say like some Muslim community purchases this third land, right? And they institute all their Sharia rules and laws. Okay, yeah. Well, eventually, right? We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay. We don't want Libertaria. We don't like the Muslim community.
Or they could just be Christians or Jews who decide they were promised the land 3,000 years ago. Well,
yeah, for sure. I'm just going for the ones that I'm just going for the religion that like has like in their doctrine that you can fuck kids and murder people and impose taxes and things like that, as opposed to like where it's a little, a little bit more vague and vacuous with the other monotheistic religion, and lie about it, right?
So religion has to be sufficiently bad, is what you're saying.
We discover that they've put the Muslim P. Diddy in charge of determining age of consent, and it's just a rubber stamp approval court, right? Every fucking teenager, every child is just like, yep, they're good to go, and there's a bunch of child brides, right? Well, Ann Capistan is like, man, and in Libertaria, we both get together with some representatives. We're like, dude, man, there's a lot of land over there. And there's this private military contracting group called Deuce Volt. And they really want to fuck those boys up. And so we're going to hire Deuce Volt to go in and kill all the fucking muzzies. And then we're going to rescue all of the child brides. And then we're going to take over a bunch of their fucking land. And then
we shouldn't have bitches on the screen, but we should call them that M word. Okay.
Muzzies.
Sure.
Muzzies is just a made-up word that describes Muslims that was created by Owen Benjamin.
All slurs are just made-up words that describe.
Yeah, I mean, like once it becomes a fucking slur, we can call it that. It's just a shortening of. It's just a shortening.
That's what they usually do. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, what's the word for the bad word for Japanese people?
What's the bad word for where
I learned? Hold on, just for the record, right? But anyways, we're gonna take them over. And we're gonna take all their shit, and we're gonna get new land. All right, problem solved. Anyways, I discovered a new slur today, right? That I didn't even know was a slur because I was attempting to search for my thumbnail to like a picture for my thumbnail. So I Google searched junk food, but I changed the U to an I. And I learned that is a slur for half Jewish, half Chinese people, of which the mother is Jewish, but they're raised in a Chinese household. And I was very confused because I was getting recipes for kosher Chinese food, and I was like, "What is this?" And I learned that there's a slur for half Jew, half Chinese children that grow up in a Chinese household with a Jewish mother, and that's junk food misspelled. I didn't know either, brother.
Yeah.
I discovered a new slur. It's always a beautiful day when you discover a new slur, isn't it, boys?
Oh God. Okay.
But yeah, there's a specific difference between the state and this, right? That all of that was just a fun little story to tell you that that it's very simple, right? Under libertarian philosophy and a voluntary government be that, a small community, a tribe of elders, a covenant community, and Capistan, whatever it is, that has the possibility of being non-aggressive. That has the possibility of being ethically justifiable. There will be mistakes. Bad people will exist. Warlords pop up just like they do now. The difference is that the state is not ethically justifiable. It cannot be ethically justifiable. It cannot be good. So one has the possibility of it working, of it being prosperous, of it being morally good, of it having a justifiable
what if we all get together
system.
And I decide, what if me and Doobie decide we're going to take our massive amount of land and we're going to decide we're going to make, I don't know, our own state. And then we're like, okay, now that we've put our land together, we're going to go, okay, we're going to make a democracy in our land alone. Like, why wouldn't we be able to do that? Like in like the your own framework. We would, right? We voluntarily decided to create a state on our land.
The children would have to be legally allowed to leave, right? So long as you don't have some means of forcing the people that are born there to be able to like not be able to leave, right? Then it would be perfectly fine. Yeah, it'd be perfectly valid.
So I don't want to make it about the age of consent, but like you brought
Couldn't
something
people
up,
leave America?
Well, the fundamental difference is that there's a whole bunch of restitution. There's a whole that needs to be paid. There's a whole bunch of stolen land, etc.
Yeah, but like
it's not voluntary from its start. If America, right, paid restitution for all of its crimes, right, and gave up all public property and like dissolved itself, and then 330 million people without one person disagreeing all agreed to be governed under this exact same system that we have as of right now. And there was not a single dissenter. There was not a single communist that existed here for some reason. There wasn't a single person with values like mine. for some reason, all 330 million people collectively agreed that they wanted this system to be, what governed them, then then it would be commiserate with anarcho-capitalism. Is that likely to occur? No, of course
but
not.
you can think of like a different, I guess, foundation, or I guess like trajectory here that could accomplish the same thing. So like gives an example where some people get together and they form this like private enclave where it has democracy. Okay, they all come together.
For sure. You totally could, yeah.
Well, hold up. Yeah, they all come together and they sign a charter that controls some land, and then over time they expand and they expand and they expand, and before you know it, it's like roughly the size of America now. They did so like the people voluntarily sold their land, but the charter of the company allows for the leadership to change even if some people disagree, if it's based solely on a vote. And if you don't like it, you can just leave the private country.
I mean, there are certain things that are like laws and systems, right, that are currently just like straight up violative of the non-aggression principle, right? But like if we got rid of those things, right, we got rid of the concept of co-ownership, right? We got rid of all forms of involuntary taxation that currently fund the state. But then we created a state voluntarily through growth, right, where people chose to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, but again, every time a child is born and they reach the age of majority and they gain their emancipation from their parents, right, and now they're considered, an adult, etc. The moment that they are, if they go out and they purchase some property somewhere and it's all under this charter, yeah, you could make that argument. But that's not the reality that we live in. Now who's engaging in like fantasy, right? Like that's not the reality of America. I don't think America could, like, I think it's highly improbable to the point of statistical irrelevancy that like we would grow completely voluntarily to the size and scope that we're at right now. But it is possible, yeah.
Man,
but
isn't
then
that what the
that would be a
liberals
completely
and the
different
lefties
society.
say about the billionaires? They're like, oh, they couldn't have got all this money without being unethical. That sounds very libtard.
That sounds really smart if you're retarded.
Well, I think what gives this point is like it would appear, no matter how unlikely, and I agree, it would be very unlikely, but it would appear to me that we could have America exist essentially exactly as it does now, but if it just formed differently, that's your objection to it. Like the governance could be exactly the same, and everything could be exactly the same now.
Everyone voluntarily agreed to the state, right? That's true. But also the problem then becomes, how do you so that you'd have to have one property owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, you'd have to have one actual individual that is in charge of this charter that owns all of the land in America, and everyone else is voluntarily agreeing.
You couldn't do a co-op if we all had like 50 individual states owners.
Yeah, are you against
co-ownership? I'm against co-ownership of property.
But it's not a co-ownership. You all own in your own individual states. You're just agreeing voluntarily that we're going to put our own. We're going to all follow one set of laws, and we're going to all help each other out.
Yeah. But that's not like I'm saying co-ownership is impossible, right? But you could absolutely have a scenario where one person is the owner of all of this land. They are the private property owner. They decide, what has occurred. And then there are all of these contracts, right, that essentially form the governing structure of the United States of America. And for whatever reason, 330 million people in all of the land eventually agreed to live under this system. It's highly unlikely, but it is possible theoretically. But then you would have a state that was formed without any stolen property, without ever killing Native Americans or conquering people.
Right, but it would be identical.
Super chat.
I think there would be some differences in certain things for sure.
Super chat from FQ. Is reviewing a man's point of history a good heuristic of honesty from men on first dates?
You can see it.
$5. Thank you so much. Do you think that would be a good heuristic? For
potentially, I think whether or not men lie about their income or their height is a really good heuristic for their honesty as well.
Probably a little easier to discover.
I think height is probably easier. Income, not so much. My problem with makeup is, again, I think that the line is difficult, but like I've seen these makeup transformations where people look entirely different, right? And if that's done with the intent to deceive, which it usually is, I think that can kind of cross into being deceptive. In the same way that like a man lying about his income is deceptive.
But that's what I want to. That's the. I'm glad you brought that up, and so I don't have to talk about the age of consent. It's probably for the best. But you talked about like for the intent to deceive. But I've talked to women, right? On occasion, they'll talk back to me. Very rarely. And like some of them talk about how they use makeup and the reason they use makeup, and it's not to be more attractive to men. It's like a thing. Yeah. So a lot of them interpret it as a thing for themselves, right? Like
some women have short, straight bangs. You know.
Yeah.
Clearly, that was not done to attract men.
Some of them have described it as like art for their face, right? Like an artwork for their face. I get to like put this thing on, right? And it's just got like a pretty like art piece that I like put it on my face and I get to wear around, right? Like it's something to make them feel good, right? That might also like make a man more attracted to them, right? Along and like change their facial structure. So in that case, as long as that is her intended goal, it's fine to do like whatever to do the massive transformations.
No, I think I disagree empirically that every woman who puts on makeup is just like trying to. Well, even most are doing it to like for some kind of like art project. I think that I would agree that probably not a lot of them, because most of the time women aren't going on dates, like just like temporally most of the day spent doing other things. Statistically speaking, yeah. Heuristically, but I think that there is when you like it's hard for me to divorce people's appearance as being really anything other than a expression of themselves to other people around them. If there was somebody, and there's no way to test this, but if there was somebody that was truly not, like if all of the humans disappeared and then a woman still put on makeup every day, I think that would be like maybe the person that I would believe. But I just don't believe the vast majority of people would do that.
A lot of women put on makeup every day during the pandemic when they were stuck at home, when no one saw them.
I'm sure there are some women that did that. I know there's a lot that didn't.
How do we know that? From their Instagram stories?
And I know a lot of them, a lot of them that did Instagram or with the potential of running into somebody. There's women who wear makeup at the gym, for example.
One second. Do we think so? Yes, some of them Instagram stories. Fair. That part's fair. But like, there are women who reported that that's what they did. There's no reason to believe, right, that they would have lied specifically for no particular reason, right? They're not like in a debate with Blackwood about the usefulness of makeup. They're just saying, hey, this is something I did, right? Some women say that like the process of putting on makeup is like their way of like getting ready for the day, right?
Sure.
And so like they're gonna get to work, not on a Zoom call or anything, right? But like they're gonna get to work. And no one's gonna see them, but like this is how like they get their mind right. Their ritual.
Sure. Yeah,
okay, but if I put platforms
then the intent
in my shoes every day, and it became part of my morning ritual to put platforms in my shoes so that I appear taller than I am, and then I continued to do it during the pandemic because that was my habit.
Then
right?
It wouldn't be deceptive in those.
It wouldn't Right. It wouldn't underlie. It wouldn't change the underlying reason that I started. And then I regularly put platforms in my shoes. I have a question. Would it be wrong, okay, if I discover that a man is lying to his girlfriend, okay, or date or other women about his height, and I just start telling people I'm 6'2"? For the record, I'm 6'5". But like, if I find that some dude is like he's like, I'm 6 foot, and it's like, nah, he's like 5'10". Well, like, how wrong would it be for me to be like, I'm 6'2", and say that like to the girlfriend and him, like, oh hi, nice to meet you, yeah, I'm 6'2".
Oh,
just
like,
so that she can be like,
guy,
oh.
she doesn't.
No, I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm making him appear 3 inches shorter while he's trying to lie about being 2 inches taller. So now he looks like it just breaks reality to such a degree.
If your intent is to expose him, then that's probably fine, right? But if
What if I
like,
just go around since everybody's lying about how tall they are? What if I just start telling people I'm shorter than I am? So that all the dudes get caught lying about.
Wouldn't
being
just
6
reporting your
feet.
actual height also illustrate the same thing? I imagine because you're
dudes are usually
tall.
only lying by like an inch or two, right?
Yeah.
But if I
but usually
reduce
it's like
mine by like 3
5'11"
inches,
to 6 foot, and like
right.
6'5",
But if I'm 6'5", if I'm 6'5" and I'm saying I'm 6'2", and they're 5'11" saying they're 6 feet, and there's actually a 6-inch difference between us when we stand next to each other, and like I'm
and women
claiming
can't tell
to
what
be
a 6-inch
6'2", and he's claiming to be
is,
6.
so.
They can.
Right. Like, can we am I doing a wrong or a right thing? Am I helping out the ladies discover
It depends what
reality,
your intent.
or I'm further fucking up the everything?
I think the intent, but that also like a predictive.
I'm
like
height smurfing.
a
according
reasonable
to chat.
prediction, a reasonable like prediction of what the effect would be. I think in this case, would like determine whether it's like okay or not okay. And in this case, I think you're probably doing something fine. I know guys who've lied about like their job. There's one guy I knew, he lied about being a dentist. He was a bartender. And
That's
I
a wild one to
You
lie
can find
about.
out real quick. Unless
Yeah, right?
Like a one date or something.
Well, it was a 1 date thing. I mean,
okay.
Some chick at a bar is not going to like look up the list of dentists.
Okay,
I
it wasn't
guess.
for long-term commitment. Then I can understand. I thought it was,
Yeah, but it was obviously a misrepresentation to get.
No,
this
it's
person
still
to sleep
wrong.
with them.
I'm saying I cognitively understand. I would endorse that type of behavior.
And so I I've never liked that. I think that's scummy. And there's somebody on Twitter, Ayla, who made
Who
something
lies
that
about being a research scientist?
maybe. I actually know very little about this person other than
She collects
some charts.
horrific data.
Yeah,
pretends
some
to be a
charts that she's
libertarian
posted.
sometimes.
But there is a chart,
and then like acts like she's doing research science
Right.
when it's just like the worst data.
But there is a one chart that I actually kind of liked, which was a rape spectrum, right? Which is like at the very bottom of it was
you like that spectrum? Huh?
I know I thought it was like actually a good good way to understand it, right? Where like the bottom is like what some deceptive activities could include, like lying to your date about like how much money you make, right? But I noted that she didn't put makeup on there, which I thought was telling of some kind of maybe internal bias that she had. Because
from what I understand, they have had a lot of plastics. I could be wrong. I don't make it, but from what I understand, they've had a lot of work done. themselves.
Yeah, that's even more interesting.
She also like doesn't bathe but like once a month, and regularly engages in sexual activity with other men, and then goes and has sex with her husband after having not bathed for like a month.
Okay, look, that's all gross
that's a
and
kink,
everything.
it sounds like.
But here's the thing. I think that if you're gonna consistently say that like lying about your income on a date
She
is
just grosses me out. I'm sorry.
sufficient deceptive, just sufficient deceptive like deceptivity, I suppose, to be some kind of like low level of fraud or especially some low level of rape. I don't see how you can get away from like plastic surgery. Like complete makeup transformations. I see some
like
women
that
brag
dude in Korea
China who sued
his ex-wife.
I see some women brag about how like what was that thing, like take her to the pool on the first date, and there's women who are bragging about, well, I have waterproof makeup, right? So that's not going to do anything for me. I think that response is kind of telling. Why, like, you don't want him to find out is what this is. How is that not deception, Prime? It seems to me like if this was done on an app, this would be catfishing, right?
I want to.
You go first.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about FQ's question here real quick. One, no. The answer is no. It would not be a good heuristic for honesty for a couple reasons. First, and this is maybe a big one. It's probably not a reason for why it's not honest. You probably don't want to know what their kinks are. Two, you wouldn't even actually find out what their kinks are, right? Because I don't know if you do watch porn. Who here's watch porn? I watched a lot of it in my day. It's kind of like Wikipedia, right? You start on something. Yeah, you start on something like mine might be like, I don't know, BDSM or something. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna watch some crazy shit, and that's pretty out there. Yeah, that's where we start. And then we might end up like
he's describing the rabbit hole that he goes down, but he's like, well, I start with a woman in a torture dungeon, and then it gets a little worse after that.
I like a little crazy. I like a little 50 Shades, in my life. I'm like, okay, this could go a few different ways. And all of a sudden now we're on like, I don't know, Alien Invasion, or some shit. You're like, wow, that was a weird
Tentacle
fact.
porn.
And like,
yeah.
and then you,
It was a
never
weird
come back.
fact.
Yeah, and you never come back, and you never come back to it ever again. But at that moment, you're like, oh, okay, I'm a little ashamed of myself. But that's not a kink. It's not honest. And it was just something you just happened upon. You're like, oh, okay, And like, you're expecting honesty from this? Like, nah. In fact, all that's going to do is give you like fake info about them that that you're going to try to use.
It'll
No,
give you
it's real
statistical
info, but
noise.
you shouldn't necessarily incorporate it heavily. Like it's
Yeah.
you should
He's
just be
talking
aware.
about statistical noise. That's what he's saying, right? Is that like if you look at a person's porn history, and I want to go back to what we were talking about before in a second. If you were talking about a person's porn history, and if they're more prolific about it, right? They don't like watch weird girlfriend porn like Lactoid does. If they like
What's weird
spent
girlfriend
some
porn?
time on the internet, right?
That's cuckold shit. He's calling you a cuck.
Yeah. So anyway, if they has spent some time, they've explored, right? Or they've like clicked links and they've gone to weird places, right? And like if like they didn't tell you, right? They didn't honestly tell you about that, right? But they told about the large trends in their habits, right? Well, then I think
the
that
trends matter more.
An honest, that would be an honest retelling. But you could say, hey, you
just like the trend that women
what if they lie about it?
Yeah, well, hold on. There's a trend. Here's a trend. Women will tell you they want a good guy, right, all the time. And then when you look at their porn history, why? You know what they're into? BDSM.
I don't know about that part.
They're gangbangs. They're the number one consumers of that. And then we have women going, oh, well, no woman would like this. It's too big of a dick. It would hurt. No woman. And then, no, they do like it because they're the number one consumers of that. Yeah.
No, hold on. There is a difference between them. I'm gonna.
What's the difference between viewing and taking? A little bit, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're trying to take that. They just can't find that.
Hold on. No, hold on 1 second. There is a difference between fantasy, right? Like what do you fantasize and what you actually want to happen to you in real life, right? Like so, like a person can have all kinds of like degenerate fantasies, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean, and they can enjoy those fantasies. They can really get off on them. That doesn't mean that they actually want that to happen in real life, right? And in terms of women, like this has been memed upon, and women themselves meme on this. They talk about how like their fantasy novels, right? I feel like the most abusive men that you can see, like they're like emotionally, sometimes even physically abusive. They're like for some reason this is fucking hot to me, right? However, they're like, no fucking way would I want that in real life. So
and then they date those guys, so they're lying about one thing.
Yeah, it's like it's a 50-50. It's somewhere in between, right? Because you should never pay attention to what a woman says about attraction or things like that, because none of them know what the fuck they're talking about. There's not exactly like women will say constantly, "Oh, I want a good man, I want a romantic man, I want these things." But if you're really romantic to a woman, you're just going to give her the ick and she's going to run away, right? Like she doesn't want that, right? Like what she wants is she wants to be seen and understood, right? Like and many men that are like players and things like that are actually better than overly romantic men that put women on a pedestal and romanticize them at actually seeing them for who they are. But then you have the red pill guys that are like, women want to be treated like shit, and it's like, no, they don't want to be treated like shit. They want to be understood. They want to be seen. They want to be validated. But they don't want to be validated in a way that like validates all of their emotions, but doesn't actually understand them. They don't want to simp. But like, so yeah, it's somewhere in between what women report they want and what women read about. The truth is in between those things, right? Like what if you're trusting what women actually like, what women say they want, that's not going to.
That women don't know what they want. That part I agree with. But on another,
they know.
To rewind the conversation for a little bit, and we are going to move on to like our
also
actual
any
topic,
Pornhub history is bad, regardless of what it is.
Fair. Okay. But so there's a quote from I think she's like a big time designer, like a fashion designer guru, someone. But anyway, a woman named Betsy Johnson, and the quote is, "Girls do not dress for boys; they dress for themselves, and of course each other. If girls dress for boys, they just walk around naked at all times." Which I don't think is completely true, because I think there can be sexy clothing. But beyond that, like I think that the sentiment is correct.
Do women not dress up for dates?
hold on, wait, one second. They do, right? But like overall, hold on, but as we understood, right? Hey, that's the statistical noise, right? That's the rarity that's happening. Most of the time, the vast majority of their lives are not on dates, correct? Right?
Yeah, but that's when the sex gonna happen, right?
When they're not on dates, they're just having
No, when they're after the date.
No. I'm saying like I'm talking about their entire lives, right?
Yeah, so they're deceiving other women.
Lives. Oh, hold on. That doesn't mean they're deceiving other women. Wait a minute. That they're okay. So the way that women talk about this to me, right? When they've had these conversations, they say, yeah, like I've said to them, why do you dress this way if it's such a problem? Right? Like I've talked to women who are like, yeah, like putting on makeup is like a big issue, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, you don't want makeup, you don't want to use makeup, and you don't want to be objectified, all right? And putting on makeup might help people objectify you, right? And they're like, hey, yes, I understand that. However, the harshest critics are other women. Right. The reason that I engage in this is because like other women will can be quite vicious about these things, right? And quite judgmental. And since women might be my bosses or my superiors in other places, right? To reduce that friction, that's why I do this, right? And I always say, like, well, it would take someone to like push to just like break the system and get out of that, right? And to start the trend. They're like, yeah, but I'm not gonna start a revolution on this. I'm just gonna like follow the trends. I'm gonna follow the conventions here. Okay, all right. So women oftentimes, according to them, what they've told me, yes, they dress to impress other women because women have an eye for this. They're looking at other women. They're comparing themselves to other women and they're judging those other women, and that's just like their culture. So yeah, like oftentimes it's not about the men though, right?
They're
not about necessarily fooling men, but like doing some sort of I don't know, like
no, they're not. Yeah. They're not dressing for men and they're not dressing for women. Both of these things are oversimplifications of something that's not really that complicated, right? Women are dressing because of two things predominantly: their own sense of identity, right? Who they are and how they want the world to perceive them, which includes both women and men. And as part of that, they are dressing to maintain or grow their state in the hierarchy of their social standing. So when they go to work, they might be quote unquote dressing for women, but really what they're doing is they're trying to express their identity, right? And their clothing tells a little bit about themselves, how much money they have, what their sense of style is. Am I quirky? Am I sexy? Whatever I am, this is who I am, right? And then they're insofar as they're actively thinking about it, not like, just throwing on some clothes because they're like late for work or whatever, right? Is they're dressing in that regard. And then they're dressing to maintain or grow their position within the social hierarchy, right? Reputation management is a very big part of how women engage in social situations. And so the maintenance of that reputation is going to be based on a number of factors, one of which is male attraction, one of which is, gay fashion designers, one of which is, what is seen as respectable in a workplace by both men and women, right? All of these factors that go into your reputation management is how women are dressing. So they're not fucking dressing for other women, though other women do engage in reputation management. And so they're more likely to tear down a woman for what she wears or not like her because of what she wears than a man is. So in a sense, it's more towards women in that domain. But it's not to dress for women or to dress for men. It's to showcase their identity and to maintain or grow their status within the hierarchy and then the domains of where they're going, right? So they dress for work for that situation. And when they go to the club, right, they're dressing quote unquote for men, but they're also dressing for women, right? But what is the social hierarchy at the club is going to be based upon different factors than what it is at the workplace. And so they're going to dress sexier because the sexual attraction of men plays a higher value at the club than it does at the workplace.
Well, hold on. First of all, let's just go through some of those you just said. Like, listen, you mentioned gay designers. I don't know if you know this about gay men, but they're very horny and they're trying to get fucked too. And so, guess what? It all comes down to attractiveness. They're making designs. They hope people want to fuck, so they make more money and get fucked. And then these women, they're going to the club, just like you said. You agree? I agree with all that part where you're talking about them getting. I would say it's all based on attractiveness. The only reason why we wear clothes is to make us look more.
Yeah, that's retarded.
No, you're wrong. Like, I look much better in some outfits than I do without totally naked. I feel like a lot of us do. It's pretty simple, like you get something that flatters you, you makes you look just right. Hey, hell yeah! That's how a lot of women do. Sometimes just a little peek of something good is better than whatever. Build the anticipation. I mean, I would say
plenty of people wear weird shit that is unattractive, right?
Yeah,
like
and
women specifically will engage.
Hold on, I'm not saying there's not outliers. I'm saying society as a whole, just clothing outfits are based off fuckability, and then if you're not wearing clothes off fuckability, then you're a fucking loser. No one gives a shit what you think, and that's really how that works. Like,
okay, what evidence? What evidence do you have to suggest that your theory is better than mine?
I will tell you what evidence I have. Every time I walk out fucking side, it's anecdotal, I guess, but every club in the world has hot people in outfits advertising on commercials. Every club, every magazine has outfits with hot people that are wearing certain things that make them look more attractive. Everything, sex sells. This is just reality. That's the real world. I hate to break it to you. And if people
don't the real world, and you brought up magazines
hold
and
on. I'm gonna keep going. You want some more? How about people that are rated more attractive make more money? That's the real world, right? It's pretty simple. How about people that are rated more attractive do better in politics and get voted in more often? That's the real world. I keep going down the list. We know attractive people make more money.
They tend to vote Republican more.
Hold on. And then when we
but none of what you said goes against what I said. You're just oversimplifying it to it always is about sex.
Let me finish it. It is all about sex. And guess what? Even the people, when they go buy these outfits, they make these outfits to make them more attractive, make them look sharper. The ones that don't buy these outfits, you're the societal low tier. Nobody cares. You don't have any say in that society. You don't get to decide what fashion is. So fashion is determined off sex. It's really that simple. Because what are you doing? You're just buying whatever you think looks cool or putting something together and making less money and not having any impact. So it all comes down to sex. It's really that simple. And whether or not
I feel like that's so reductive that it doesn't even need a response. I feel like anyone with a room temperature IQ could understand that what I said and what you said, entailed the same things. You just cut out all of the things that are
because all the
obviously also true.
Nah, it's just it needs to be simplified. Sex, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. No one has any. No one cares about a sense of identity, and there's nothing that could ever matter in terms of fashion other than sex. That's why fashion shows always show the sexiest outfits and never crazy retarded things like fucking 400 coat hangers as wings.
The last 5-6 years has literally been trying to you just talked about identity. They've literally been trying to make sex their identity. That's all they've been trying to do. Oh, guess what? I'm a man that wants to be a woman. Oh, I want to be a flower. They're all about what they want. Their literal identity is what else wants to fuck them.
Dude, you were so out of touch. You are so out of touch with the real world.
Oh, Gibbs.
Left-wing fashion has been
anti-aesthetics. Like a dog,
right? It has been. There have been hierarchical. Symbolic representation through clothing and makeup that are subversive to sexual attraction. That has been a part of identity management within left-wing art and culture for years. Okay, there are plenty of people that have gained reputation management by having outfits that are specifically not as sexually attractive. Like that is just true in the fashion industry.
I think there's to Scott's point. So was Lady Gaga's meat dress? Was that about sex for you as well?
Yes. Yeah, it's a vagina. It's a representation.
I think you just see everything.
You remember that era where they would go?
I think that's just a you problem.
No.
I would agree with Scott here. I don't think that Lady Gaga meat dress was about sex. Personally,
Lady Gaga's talked about how the meat thing is how men treat women like meat. She's represented in the sex. Also, if you remember at the time, to Lady Gaga's credit, Newgrounds is a big website, and one of their most prominent games in the adult section was: is it meat or is it a vagina?
Prime, can I ask you a question?
Roast beef. Go ahead.
If I find out
that was his hamburger,
and I wouldn't even really need to find this out, if I reasonably expect that a woman might be interested in how much money I had, something crazy like that, let's assume, and then I went and I got a fake Rolex, and I put on the fake Rolex, and it's like a super fake, so it looks very much like a real Rolex, but it was like $200, $300, and I like flash it to her and make it clear that she sees it. Would this be deceptive?
The silence is speaking for itself.
Who are you asking? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Prime.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know
Jake-
you were asking me. I'm sorry.
You didn't mention your
said
name.
Prime.
Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either the Paul Bros say never to wear the real Rolex. They say buy a real one,
I,
then buy the fake version and wear the fake.
Yeah, but if I had a fake, the Paul Bros would say that.
But
If I had a fake
you also
Rolex-
have the real version of the
Uh-huh.
fake that you own.
Yeah. So if I had a fake Rolex,
Oh, okay.
on,
So you're wearing it
and,
for safety reasons.
no, if I bought a fucking Rolex specifically designed to look like a fake Rolex, like look
Yeah,
like a
but do
real
you own the
Rolex,
real
but it's a-
version of that as well?
No,
Oh, okay. See, that's different. See, they're saying buy the fake version and the real version.
no, I'm
Right?
buying
We
it
all
because I
got
want
it
to.
home.
Yeah, I'm buying
Yeah.
the fake Rolex because I want people
He
to
wants
think
to
that I'm
pose as
wealthier than
something
I
he's
am.
not.
Yes,
I got it.
that is the comparison. I'm trying to make me look rich, right? If I just like a lot of these fucking fake influencers do. If I'm like pulling up to my mansion in my fucking Maserati, and then it turns
You're
out
rented.
the Maserati's rented and the
Yeah.
mansion's owned by some producer friend that I asked if I could film there for a day.
Yeah.
Don't you think that like if I show a woman that video like, oh yeah, I drove my Maserati into the, or even if I didn't say that, if I just like showed her the video and then like she came away reasonably so with understandings of me being rich, did I deceive her in any way?
Okay. Yeah. So again, sorry, I didn't realize you were talking to me, friend.
Okay.
But yes, I think that is a level of deception. However, to be clear, I don't like. We talked about this before. I don't like fully disagree with you, like on the makeup thing, right? I actually have a lot of agreement with you here. But I guess I think that one, like, I wouldn't put this on every woman at all points in time.
I wouldn't
because
either.
I don't think. Okay, fair, right? So that I don't think all women at all points in time are wearing makeup specifically to deceive men.
True.
But
And I might just like the look of the fake Rolex, and I have no idea what it's actually worth.
fair, yeah, that's absolutely true, right? Yeah. So I think the extent of the fraud and like our societal response to that, I think that we might be able to find some differences there. But I want to read something. Okay, so I'm going to read something from our friend FQ. I want to read it, but I also don't want to read it because I know this is going to incite a response from you guys, and we do have to move on. But
Super chat,
Is it another manifesto?
it's not a super chat. It's not a manifesto.
Oh, it's a manifesto.
This is not a manifesto. This
Well.
is 2 sentences from her. All right. So she said, like, her major point that she was trying to get across with her previous super chat. This is a DM from her. Is this: lying about bizarre porn fetishes is worse than income or height. If a man demands a woman humiliate herself by showing up no makeup and expose her body count, he should have to hand his cell phone over for a review, right? So if he's so showing up with no makeup and like asking them about their body count, that's like a humiliation ritual. So they should also hand over their phone for.
I don't see
review
how no
by
makeup
woman.
is a humiliation ritual, unless
Nah, I'm kind of with FQ on this one. Like, if you're gonna first
I'm
date,
not with the makeup.
demand someone's sexual history, and demand that they walk out kind of exposed in terms of the way that they look with no makeup in a world where all of
oh,
the
if it was a
women
demand,
are right, like
look,
if you're like
it's-
well,
that's
like
different.
requesting, right? If you're requesting, I think that the fair request in return is to be like, okay, well, if I
I don't
have to
disagree with the
explain
request part.
if
but
I have to show up at a nice restaurant where every girl is wearing makeup and like I'm not allowed to cover my fucking acne or my raccoon eyes that have been caused by the fact that everyone says I'm supposed to wear makeup every day, and so I don't get fucking sunlight on my eyes and I don't get enough vitamin D in those areas or whatever, right? And like I don't get to highlight my best features and minimize ones that are a certain way. So like I'm barefaced and vulnerable for you, and I have to be honest about my sexual history right from the beginning. Then why are you not going to be honest about your sexual your sexuality and the things that you fucking jack off about at home. Like, yeah, no, that's a completely fair and valid request. If you're going to be like, no makeup and you better tell me how many dudes you slept with, then like, yeah, well, I want to see your fucking phone. I want to see what weird shit you're into.
So
Well, I
I
agree.
feel like
If
we
it's
should share the
if it's a
phone
reciprocal
without-
demand, I read it and I might have misunderstood. Of like the woman voluntarily shows up without makeup, and then voluntarily shares her body count, and then therefore the man is obligated to share.
No, it's a request. It's
Well, nobody.
Okay.
I don't think-
Nobody's thinking
I
that.
think regardless of if the woman shows up without makeup or whatever, I think that it's a good idea, not because it's a heuristic for honesty. I think we should just be showing each other our porn histories and talking about our kinks right from the start. Because if you're not into the cool, wild shit that I'm into, you're boring. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to talk
I'm with my man Gibbs on this
listen,
one.
if you're not into the same wild shit I am, how are we going to get married? Like, you know, if I can't tell you
Good point.
then I don't want to be with you.
Good
Like,
point.
So,
We
but
should expose it.
here's my disagreement.
stop wasting my time.
I don't think I think that when you present your face somewhere, that is a statement, right? I think the face is sort of unique in that respect, where when you present, and this is one of the reasons why like masks were so disruptive during the pandemic, or at least what people argued they were, is because like the face is the gateway to the soul. Like you are presenting yourself, you are expressing yourself, you are making statements whenever you present your face. I just think that that is a physical statement in some regard. And so if you show up, I don't think that I think it's perfectly, I don't see it as the same as I get to see something that you have that is private, like your phone history, if I can't cover up or misrepresent the statement that I'm making to you throughout the entire date, or even before the date, I'm assuming, unless this is like a blind date. Now, the body count, the example, I think, is more comparable, potentially. I think it's actually pretty closely comparable, actually. Like STD risk maybe is like some kind of argument you could say where you have like a vested interest in knowing, but at the same time, like asking if the other person is clean kind of accomplishes the same thing potentially. So,
I mean, if a woman is going to be like vulnerable and engage in sexual activity with you potentially, or a relationship towards that, I think it's also fair, knowing a woman's body count for maybe STD reasons, right? Because of the safety in that situation, she's going to be alone with a person that can overpower her. Maybe she wants to make sure your Pornhub isn't 90% like beating the shit out of women.
Look, I think it's perfectly, if a woman wants to make a request for any information during a date, I think that's fair.
That's valid, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like
valid.
you can just say no and end it there.
Yeah, you can just say
continue,
no. Yeah, there's no obligation to be on a date with anybody. For me, the only problems that come up if things are misrepresented. So if I ask somebody's body count and they say 3, when in reality it's 300, well, that's a problem. If she were to ask me my income and I were to say it's like, it's 300,000 and really it's $3,000 a year, that would also be a problem, right? For obvious reasons. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking. I just think when it comes to now, again, with the makeup example, it's difficult because you can ask somebody, well, are you wearing makeup? And the answer is going to be yes, in almost every case. But there is a huge range of like what that means, right? And it's not always clear which end of the spectrum that's in. Someone could say, yeah, I'm wearing makeup, and I can't. How much? Like, are they going to give me like a in weight exact? No, they're not going to say that.
An inventory.
There's no actual quantitative way for them to like express that to me. But they could look completely different without their makeup, or they could look more or less the same. They just have eyeliner on or something. I don't know. So when it comes to and I think the same thing with plastic surgery. Scott brought up the case of, well, somebody's showing up and everybody else is having it, so it's really kind of embarrassing for them not to have it. This is literally what South Korea is experiencing with plastic surgery.
Yeah, South Korea, exactly. I was going to say. Yeah.
And there's kind of a compounding problem that happens when there is this expectation that everybody has this thing, where all of a sudden it becomes expected that everybody has this thing. I don't like that. I don't like, what have we gained in this world now where everybody must look like a Barbie doll?
Well, one person will stop having plastic surgery when everyone else does it and takes the leap. They're going to be waiting to start the revolution. I agree that's a dumb argument, but that would be the mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like Gattaca a little bit. Like it's... I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Look, I don't want anyone to have the expectation to have to change their face, right?
True.
Unless it's established for a job, like, hey, I'm going to pay you money, like, this is a requirement, you got to change your face in some way, right, to for the job, like a clown, right, you put on clown makeup. So I agree with that, but I don't know. I think that our societal response to make up the burgeoning response, right? Like within these red pill spaces mostly, right? And I'm not calling you red pillar, to be very clear, right? But where this thought process is springing forth, I think this response tends to be overblown for the problem that's presenting. I don't think it's not necessarily fraud in the way that we've been talking about it, right? But how do we deal with this? What is the damage? I think there's a lot of room for discussion there. But anyway, let's move on to the actual topic. Thank you once again, FQ, for the kind $5 super chat. That was once again another stimulating discussion, and I wish we had some women to add to that. Hey, Dibby, please.
I've got terrible news for you guys. Okay.
No.
I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I have to go. Unfortunately.
And your wife has shown up with makeup, and you can barely recognize her, but you kind of want to fuck her more, and then you're like, "Is this fraud?"
Actually, one thing
right?
I appreciate is that she doesn't wear very much makeup. She does, but not very much, and I appreciate that actually. I agree with Lactoid about the
everything you told me. She's an honest woman, so
yeah, extremely racist, but honest. Yeah.
Well, that's how you know.
What more could you ask for?
I'm trying to train her not to use the N-word anymore. It's a process.
Well, if you're honest, you're always going to be extremely racist. What do you mean?
It's not that she's she's just a little edgy. Okay, that's what it is. She's not actually racist. She's just an edgelord. Okay, I gotta go. Sorry, friend.
Okay, bye.
Sorry,
bye, friend.
It's great to see you guys. Bye-bye.
Yep. We got a ringer who just showed up. Hold on. One second. Hold on. We're gonna add them in. The Jeptan, one of your people. Is the let me hit him. Jeb link above. Okay. Another person wants to join in. We'll give them a moment to jump in before I read the
fucking thing on the bottom that is taking up half the fucking screen again. Jesus Christ, dude.
Also, for the record, before Jeb Tam comes on, he's wrong. 3 people in a year is not that many people I haven't have sex with. It's just not.
3 people in a year is not that many people to have sex with.
Yeah, think about 2 6-month relationships, and then you have one night stand between the two.
It's a lot when you compare it to the American average.
Well, I'm sorry that some people don't have game.
The average number of sexual partners is 10, and so if you're doing 3 a year, that's you're going to surpass it in 4 years.
So I have a lot more than 10.
Listen,
way to brag.
The context,
not, but
the context I'm talking about is the issue with Gibbs's thing. Gibbs is saying 30 isn't a big body count, so he's not saying had a 1-night stand, 6-month relationship, 1-night stand. Everyone agrees that's fine. You're saying they do that again and again for a decade. Having 10 6-month relationships and then fucking a person in between each of them, that's red flag all day. I'm never going near that person. 10 6-month relationships that failed, and your solution every time is to go and fuck random after every single
3 months, 4 months. Some of them are 8 months.
I'm sorry, you're fucking 2 randoms in between each one. You're fucking 2 randoms in between each relationship and wondering why your relationships only last 6 months? Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounds like just no game is what it sounds like.
So
or I have the ultimate game because one and done.
Oh boy.
I rest my case.
Oh
Not
boy.
really.
I have
Yeah,
thoughts on
Jeb,
that, but
you even had your clothes burned or your car keyed by a crazy Latina. You're really
Chat,
missing
right.
out.
Yeah,
Someone in
I'm
my
the
chat.
one who's-
Someone in my chat says I've been catfished into red pill content because obviously
Yeah,
the
pretty much.
description and the title of the video
Oh my God,
has
yeah.
nothing to fucking do with
You
this.
liar.
And it's,
I
you
know.
know, and it's fucking
well,
past 10
Blade-
o'clock and we're still not on
Blade-
this topic.
I'm not saying
Blade-
sexual market value, any of that bullshit. I'm saying
Oh.
if you're saying who you want to be in a relationship with, and someone's like, yeah, I've had 10 6-month relationships, and every time I get over one, I fuck a couple
Bro, if
randoms.
they're fucking
Yours-
No, but what if
30?
all of them were crazy? What about that?
Hold on,
Jeb?
yeah.
It's just a
Hold on,
coincidence.
hold on.
There's no
Hold on.
assortative mating going on.
If
It's
it's
just
a
pure
coincidence, they're
Yeah.
all
No,
at
no,
fault, and not
This
me.
is- hold on. Let's just say you were dating you're doing only 2 people a year, and you just started from 18, and they're now 32. That's like 30 people even then. 2 people in a year is not that many people. Like,
That's a
I don't know why
lot.
you're acting.
Well,
Maybe
wait,
if you're
Gibbs,
fucking, like,
Gibbs.
not good
Just-
at like
just-
getting laid or not.
Wait,
good
wait,
at
just
doing
out
it.
of
no,
curiosity.
It's not
just-
that many. But
Gibbs,
if I have less
wait,
than 2
can I-
had sex with less
Can
than
I
2 people in a
clarify
year,
something?
I would probably like I don't know what I'd do. It'd be bad.
Okay, so in your 10-year period, if let's say someone, gets married, okay, and then get divorced, and then 5 years, get married, get divorced, is that a red flag to you or not?
But say it again.
In over a span of 10 years, if they get married and they get divorced 5 years later, they get married again 5 years later, as in they've been divorced twice in a 10-year period, is that a red flag to you? Or that's
Sure.
you should incorporate
it's a red
that.
flag.
It is for me.
It's a red flag.
Well, why is that?
Yeah,
Why is that a red flag? And then people sleeping with 30 individuals not a red flag?
I'll tell you why. Once again, it's real simple. Because one, if you're dumb enough to sit here and like commit your money back to back in 5-year periods, and you all sit here, you're either a woman and you have no consequences from getting divorced, or B, you're a man and you're a dumbass, and that's really the only explanation I have there.
Listen,
So,
Gibbs,
yeah, I think
your
it is a-
answer,
I
your
think it is a
answer
red flag.
told the story for me, right? Then hear me out. You just said 2 people a year for however long until you're 32. That's 30. That's not a lot. Otherwise, you're bad at getting laid. The implication there is I am engaging with someone whose goal for the last 10 years until they were 32 was just getting laid.
No, that's
and
not
now
the
all
goal.
of a
That's
sudden,
not the same at
now all
all.
of a
That's
sudden
not
I'm
even
having
true.
to deal with them.
if that's
Hold
the
on,
case,
that's-
they're being very ineffective by getting laid.
Yeah, they're
That's
being
all I'm
ineffective.
gonna
If that's not
do
true,
there.
then they've been in like 10
Hold
short
on,
relationships
listen,
that haven't worked out, and they're a red
young,
flag.
Listen, young Padawan. I'm going to explain something to you. I mean, I know that you're just now getting married. You're all excited. And you think it's normal.
I've been in a
But, you know,
relationship for 8 years.
Yeah, I rest my case.
Red
Listen, like,
flag.
listen, yeah, red
Red
flag.
flag.
Yeah, it's a green flag. Sure, it's a good thing. But listen, if something was to happen,
Yeah.
and you get depressed and you get divorced, it's very common for people to be okay. I'm going to go start trying to have sex now because I miss being able to fuck every now and again. Right, but I don't want to date. Those people having one night stands, reasonable, makes sense. And if you're only getting like 2 people in a year and you're going out every other weekend, 52 times, 1 time a weekend, or if we're going to do 2 times a weekend, that's 100 times, and you're only getting laid twice, that's a 2% return rate.
Okay,
On
if
100
you're
times.
going,
Now,
if
that's
you
really
break
bad.
up from a
You're
long-term
very bad at
relationship-
getting laid.
Hold on.
And listen, hold on. If you tell me if you go out 100 times a year and you get laid twice,
No, I'm
guess what?
saying you
you're
going out
screwed.
100 times a year is the red flag.
No, hold on. That's a very
Going out
common
to
thing.
get
The
laid
drinking
100 times a
culture-
year is a
No,
red
hold on.
flag.
Gibbs and
Drinking
Jeb have
culture
just
has
different
it.
goals. They're just different
Yes.
people with different goals.
No,
like
it's not different
that's,
goals.
that's,
Not
that's the
different
end of
goals.
it.
Red flag to me.
Gibbs,
No.
it's the hole
No.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
To Jeb's
No,
hand.
that's not true. Hold on.
The hole with the W
Listen,
is the
I know
goal,
that
you
y'all
know?
are prominently online only people, and I'm going to introduce y'all to the room.
Oh
We're gonna
my
get it to
God.
y'all.
Yeah,
But
I'm
listen,
my
most
fiance
people,
and I have been
most
dating
people in
online
America,
for years.
most people in America, drinking culture is a big thing, and part of drinking culture and part of dressing up and fashion, just like we were talking about, is trying to get laid. And guess what? If you're single, it's pretty common, especially if you're single all year, to go out more than 100 times in a year. That's not
Lactoid,
that
you're a
many
good
times.
debater.
That's literally
Does that
twice
feel like
in
a
2
walk
weeks
back
for
from
like
going out
50
trying to
weeks.
get laid twice a
Hold
weekend?
on,
Now
though.
he's saying,
Hold
well,
on.
you're trying to
And hold
get
on.
laid
If you get-
anytime you
hold on.
dress up.
Hold on.
It's a
If you
moving
get
target.
laid 2 times in a year off one night stands off 2 different people, that's literally 2% of the time you went out. Literally 2%. All right. And so you're telling me, oh, they're bad. It's because they're bad at getting laid. It is because they're bad at getting laid. If you only get laid 2% of the time and you go out and you're trying to get laid, you're a scrub. Sorry, don't give a shit about you. And if
No,
we're talking
you're a
about
scrub
people-
if you go out
Hold
100
on.
times a
And then
year
if
trying to
people
get laid,
date,
period.
hold on,
Even if you're
people date
successful.
for long
Right.
periods. If I date for somebody for 6 months and I break up with them, and I don't date anybody for 3 months, and I meet somebody new and we start dating, and in 3 months, hey, before the end of the year I have sex with them, that's still 2 people within the year, and I had a 3-month grieving period between my 6-month relationship.
Yeah, but
And
you're
then guess what? We go
extrapolating
on.
that over 10 years, and that means someone
Over
has had
10
10
years?
short-term failed relationships, and that's a red flag to me.
Bro,
You know
Fair enough,
yeah,
if you had an
yeah,
8-year relationship,
course it's
6
a
months
red
is not a
flag.
short-term relationship.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a red flag for Jack.
6
because
months is
he
not a
wants- he
short-term
wants to- He wants to
relationship.
get
Yeah, I want a
married.
long-term
No,
relationship.
not-
Wait, hold
Gibbs-
on. Wait,
Gibbs
Gibbs.
does not want a long-term relationship.
If you're
Gibbs-
dating somebody for 6
Yeah, of
months,
course.
if you're dating
I
for
agree.
somebody
You don't
for
think
6
you
months,
think
you're
6 months
far-
is a long-term relationship?
It's a serious one at least. You're not going to date someone for 6 months. If it's just
6
gonna be
months?
like we're not dicking around. Well, I'm not. If I'm
No, I
dating
get
someone
what he's
longer than 3
saying, but
months-
that's why it's such a big red flag. You've tried to really go it with 10 people and it hasn't worked out. I think there's a problem with
Well,
your
most
selection.
people date more
or
than
there's
10
a
people.
problem.
Like I don't know if they fuck more
Stop.
than people.
Not
most
more.
People date
Most
more
people
than
do
10
not date for 6 months or longer. 10
Yeah,
people.
but most people date more than 10 people.
Yeah,
Your-
but
your
you
first
just
year
said
indicator
6
was
months
like,
is more
oh.
serious than
And you
just
just said
dating.
for 10
6 months
people,
is serious.
So
It
okay,
is serious.
all right.
It's a serious relationship.
So all right.
Anyway, yeah,
I just
let's
want
go
to
into
make it
things from here.
clear because Lacto had said something. That I was not bragging like at all, like not at all. Be so clear, not at all, right? What I'm trying to say though, is that like I reject and this is consistent. I think it's consistent. Everyone knows if you watch this channel long, it's a consistent refrain of mine, right? That I reject the morality attached to sex and like consensual sex. Like I reject people moralizing and shaming individuals for their body counts or like what they do in bed or anything like that, right?
Sure.
The consensual sex between adults, of course, right? Then like you should be able to do what you want of however many people you want, right? I reject it all. So no, I am absolutely positively not bragging, right? I don't feel elated or I don't feel disappointed. I don't feel proud. I don't feel shamed, right? And I don't think anyone else should feel that way either, right? It's just a
I think
thing,
everyone agrees.
you've done.
Probably.
Yeah, and I want to clarify too,
I'm not
because
sure
I said red flag, and I do want to clarify because that can sound red pilly. When I say red flag, as Corey mentioned, we're talking about red flag in terms of is this person a compatible person for me to fulfill my goal of a long-term relationship with, right? And so I'm not saying that women or men are bad for having a lot of sexual partners or bad for pursuing them. I think that you should have better goals than that. And definitely someone who spent 10 years primarily trying to fuck is not going to be a compatible person for me to be in a relationship with long term.
That's
very fair. I think Scott would disagree with the things I was saying.
Yeah, I'll just try and keep it short actually, so we can
move on to the topic.
And that's why I wasn't really saying much, but it's pretty simple, right? Research seems to suggest that if a person has 1 or 2 previous sexual partners, that they have a high divorce rate. If they're a virgin, they have an incredibly low divorce rate. Now, the commonality between most of these things is probably religiosity, right? Which is, virgins tend to be very, very religious and they tend to match other people that are also of the same religion. And that's like a really strong factor to keeping the relationship together for better or worse. Once someone gets a divorce and then they've only ever had 1 previous sexual partner, it can be like a bit of an issue because they've tasted something else. They've bringing in maybe trauma from somewhere else or something, but they haven't like found themselves. The sweet spot, other than virginity and being in a religion, which is way, way more successful than having someone that has had previous sexual partners, somewhere between 2 to 10, right? With like 5 to 6 being the best. Pair bonding research shows that people that have more than 10 sexual partners tend to have issues with pair bonding. They have difficulty being in a long-term committed relationship with someone. They have a lot of trauma usually. Like a woman with more than 10 bodies is a huge red flag for any man that actually wants to have a meaningful relationship with a woman. But what I think the red pillars
and vice
get
versa,
wrong,
it goes both ways.
yeah, it is both ways, but to a lesser extent, but it is absolutely both ways. I think what the red pillars get wrong is that it's not about the amount of sex that you're having. It's not about how many bodies you have. It's really more about the way that you approach relationships and your ability to be in a long-term relationship. Someone that's had 6 or 7 previous bodies, we'll call them, right? That's like 28 or something, right?
Corpses, we can call them that too.
Is someone that maybe only had like one night stand in college and didn't like it because they realized that that's a bad experience, that's disrespectful to both people, disrespectful to the act of sex, and leaves you feeling kind of empty and dirty because they are the type of person that connects with someone and realizes that like sharing their body with someone should be a special thing for someone that you're committed to. And then the other 5 times they've had sex was like their high school sweetheart, and then relationships that they waited 2 or 3 months maybe to have sex with that person, and then they were in a 1 or 2 year, maybe one was a 6-month relationship, right? But if someone has 30, 40 bodies and they're 30, right, that means that they have a very blasé relationship with sex. They've had more than one night stand. They don't think about sex as sacred. They probably have a lot of trauma. They probably have a lot of expectations and a lot of problems. Outliers exist and people change, right? Sometimes people can have one way in their life and then they're different later. But by and large, if you're trying to marry someone with more than 10 bodies, that's a bad idea.
I do want to move on to the topic at hand, right? But I do want to reject the framing here a bit, right? I think I agree with a lot of what you said, right? And more to the point, it's about like how you approach relationships, right? Like if you're a serial dater, I think is actually a bigger problem than a person who's had a lot of different sexual partners. I think that's the issue that's the heart of it. Because
also a serial dater is probably going to have a higher body count, right? If someone has a bad breakup and then they take a year off and like focus on themselves, they're also probably likely to have a bigger body count.
These things are highly correlated, but they're not synonymous. They're not the same thing, right?
For sure, so but like the person Admiral Gibbs that is like in like a 6-month relationship constantly,
my guy, let me
is a serial dater.
Let me make my case. Yes. So then I agree, right? Serial dating is actually the problem that's being identified here when we're talking about pair bonding, right? Sorry. Okay. So we'll have to talk about this later, right? But I just want to get my point in before we move on, right? But you can respond afterwards. I won't
it's just the data doesn't suggest that.
Yeah,
it can be a factor for sure, but it's not the problem being identified. It's not even the biggest one.
Yeah, I don't think that having some certain amount of bodies, sexual
bodies
partners
is just a correlation.
I know. Well, is it, you saying relation? Because relation is not what I'm identifying here. Sexual encounters.
We know someone here that likes relations with bodies.
Yeah. Sexual. That's what I'm trying to say. Sexual encounters aren't relationships. You can have a bunch of sexual encounters and have a low number of relationships, right? That doesn't say anything about like your ability to get and stay in a relationship. It's talking about how much sex you've had with how many people. That's
right. But that would be correlated with a high divorce rate, right?
I said they correlate to
right. That's why I'm saying the data just like if you haven't been in a lot of relationships, but you've had a lot of previous sexual partners, which you'll see in like a certain subset of women in Gen Z, right? I'm not saying this is all women, right? But you'll see a lot of young women, for example, saying, "I've never been in a serious relationship," or like I'm not in a lot of relationships, and then people are like, "Oh, they have a low body count." It's like, "Oh no, they don't," because they're engaged in a lot of short-term flings and a lot of sexual activity, and that also is a problem.
Yeah, and it's super granular, and I think this goes to just show. But hold on, this is to just show the problem with red pill or sort of dating optimization ideology from the get go. And I know this isn't going to hit with like younger people who like it because they want a simple answer. There's never going to be a simple answer when it comes to things so deeply individual as dating, because like you can take even the really popular thing that just blew up, right? Charlie and Andrew Wilson. And Charlie's point in pointing out the issue with Andrew Wilson's oversimplification of the value of women. And Andrew being like, well, my wife has 3 baby daddies because she was in 3 long-term relationships. And there were instances of abuse that pushed her out of those relationships. So even the ending of those relationships weren't her fault. And it's like, grant all of his premises that they're all true. And it's tragic. But what it shows isn't that Charlie should have pie on her face for bringing it up. What it shows is Andrew's consistent oversimplification of the context, of the possible context for all the women he talks to, is a problem because he comes from what should be such a deeply informed background that there's so much potential context in the lives of these individual women. And the fact that he told the woman he refuses to be lectured, meaning in that context, he didn't want to engage in a debate with a woman who's had 50 dicks in her mouth, is probably the actual problem. The overgeneralization is the issue, not the sort of attempted but potentially mistargeted
what about a
critique.
dude with
I
50
would
pussies in his
agree.
mouth? Does he
Hold on.
lose credibility, or is
Yes, he should lose credibility. He should lose it in the same exact way
So
too, because he
more like
is
like legend?
No, and listen, he should, because if a dude has had 50 pussies in his mouth, he has probably
He's doing
taken
all
the
right.
chance to eat every pussy he ever had an opportunity of getting in his mouth. Whereas a woman who's had 50 dicks in her mouth has probably still turned down 90% of the dicks she could have sucked. So he should probably be
I
judged
think that's
more.
more of a hold on. That's more of a self-telling you, just because you can't imagine convincing 50 different women to have sex with you.
It's a joke, but it's obviously a hyperbolic
Based
joke.
in
But
reality a
obviously,
bit.
Even
one day,
regulars address.
I just pray
Yeah.
one day that everything goes good in Jeb's life, because his jaded arc is going to be epic. He's going to suddenly.
Oh yeah, it'd be pretty bad
It's
if
going to be
it
wild.
breaks up.
Listen,
It's going to be
not
awful.
Jaded implies you are looking at the world inaccurately because you've been harmed.
We'll see.
Okay?
We'll see here.
So
Like,
to defend-
Lactoid.
Right. I want to. Well, to
Your
defend-
audio
audio
issues are
again.
back. You have to fix your mic position.
All right. Can you hear me?
Ooh,
No, probably
Yeah,
click
worse.
to a different mic
Worse?
device in StreamYard and then go back to your original
No,
one. That
It's
usually
literally
gives it to me.
his headset mic. He's
Oh,
using.
is it?
I don't know how he's a
Oh,
streamer and still using
yeah.
a headset mic.
El Corsair, dude.
I was using my other mic, but then we moved to
He's
StreamYard,
going to yell at me.
so now this is the thing that works.
No, well, it doesn't right now.
Click the settings,
Okay.
go to audio, and
It's
select
not a
the mic
settings
you
issue.
like.
He literally moved it. It's
No,
like his
I know
mic
what I'm
is
saying
dying.
is to use his original mic. Go to the settings and select the mic that you like.
You are
in
not
audio.
understanding Jeb Tan.
No, I
His
am.
mic
I
is
know.
physically broken.
Currently, the one he's using is, but he is suggesting he has another mic that StreamYard wasn't letting him use. No,
No. That's not what he
Oh.
was saying. No.
Get another
So,
mic, you fucking dork. Fabian Scott was right.
Wait, hold on, guys.
Testing. Testing.
That's
Yes.
better.
now.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Thank you.
yeah.
To defend Andrew a little bit here, I have heard him say, and this is going to be a bit of a callback, but I agree with this, that I don't think he used this word, but this is how he was using it. It is a heuristic to not date women who have a bunch of bodies. Okay, it's not that you can't have
Nope, you're
specific
back to a
situations.
fucked up mic. Get a
I'm
real
glad
mic.
it's cutting out
loser.
now. I'm glad no one can hear him.
No,
Okay.
yeah, and
I'm so sorry,
we
Fred.
understand it's a
It's,
heuristic.
still, it's,
but
it's fucked up beyond like you guys can't
Yes.
even hear me.
Yeah, it's to the
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
cutting in and out and
Oh,
super
shit.
electrical.
Yeah.
Listen, the issue with the guys that hide behind it's a heuristic, we had a conversation earlier, Lactoid, but Nick Fuentes is another one of these, and Ben Shapiro had a great point on it, which is the issue with the guys that hide behind it's a heuristic. When you
I
actually
rest my
look
case about
at
being
all of
terminally
this,
online with y'all.
when you look at all of their content and all of the stuff, all the conversations they take part in, it's not a heuristic. They do just blanket judge any woman who has too many bodies. They do just blanket hate black people and women and blah blah blah.
No, Nick
right.
Fuentes is gay. He doesn't get a say on
No,
what body count
yes,
matter for
I
women.
understand.
Like,
What I'm saying is Ben Shapiro had a great quote on Nick Fuentes, which was, "It is not the audience's responsibility to look up everything you have ever said to combat the impact of what you said in front of them. Don't say the dumb shit and then be like, well, go watch my entire library of context and you'll understand the nuance of what I'm saying. Just be smart enough to introduce that nuance when you introduce the point."
No, hold on. So I was told on my end that my stream
Much
can
better
hear me
on
just
mic now.
fine. This
Now
might
you're-
be a StreamYard's issue.
It probably is,
Um,
but you sound
Dude,
good now.
StreamYards is doing all kinds of great shit. Only when I stream
Okay.
on StreamYards do I start getting weird bitrate issues on my stream.
Yeah.
And like
so
my stream
that
starts
might be.
crashing, too. I don't know if
It
it's
might
a
not
StreamYards
actually
issue.
even be. Yeah, but my people
Okay, well, we
watching my
can
stream are
hear you
saying that
now.
I'm saying fun. Regardless.
Yeah, we're good.
I don't agree. I don't think that every conversation needs to have like maximal nuance. I think that it can be helpful to throw in nuance, and that's like the key to a deeper conversation. But we work off heuristics all the time, and I think that's fine. If I'm on like when you're going like swiping on a dating app, you're going off heuristics. When you hear about somebody that you might be interested in romantically or sexually, et cetera, you're going off heuristics. When you are meeting somebody, like there's a reason why when you want to like make a friend, you tend to try to like go to events or things in which have like one of your interests, where other people who might share that interest might be there, because heuristically, people who share your interests are more likely to work out. Whether
can I ask you a question?
And so when Andrew, to bring it home, when Andrew Wilson says very correctly that like a woman with a very high body count is generally a bad idea, he has said that I think he specifically said that like his wife is like one of those like exceptions, one of those situations where he probably wouldn't advise somebody to do that, but it worked out for him, and it can work out for people. It's very similar. Like my grandfather's been smoking cigarettes since he was 13, and he hasn't gotten cancer and died, but he would tell people not to.
Counterpoint to that.
Hold on.
No, let Scott get in.
Hold on. Yeah. So here's the issue, right? And like, oh God, I hate getting in drama off of like this person versus that person or whatever, right? Especially when it's Andrew Wilson, because he'll fucking flame me. But regardless, Enemy Charlie brought up a good point that got buried, right? Bringing up the wife and everything in the way that she did was probably like, she deserved to get yelled at some. Though he did freak out a little bit, and he didn't address a serious crux of the argument, which is under his preferred governmental system of Christian nationalism that he advocates for, divorce would be illegal. And so all of this, like, oh, well, my wife had these extenuating circumstances. It's like that only matters if he is arguing that those extenuating circumstances should be applied in the law. When he has regularly made claims that divorce ought be illegal, then that becomes an issue, right? And like I didn't watch the whole debate, right? But I feel like Enemy Charlie, though she did go for a little bit of a low blow, I think she only brought up the divorces. Right. Well, he does a lot of
he literally teaches the deployment. It's listed on the description of his debate academy, the deployment of tactical insults. And I can't think of an insult that was more tactical than Charlie's right there, because it literally got her 4.5 million.
If I remember correctly, she didn't. If I remember correctly, though, she didn't bring up the child, did she?
No. Not once.
No, right. The thing so is, I mean, it's very clear then that she's obviously not going for the lowest blow.
Nor did she really attack Rachel. She literally immediately tried to connect it back to Andrew. The person who didn't allow her to connect it back to him and his inconsistency was him.
He freaked the fuck out.
This is the issue, Lactoid, that I have.
Brian.
No, okay. Whether it was
it was Brian, not Andrew.
This is the issue.
The phone call from what's her name?
That was like minutes. Right. That was like 10 minutes later.
No, hold on. Well, that's why Rachel's on there in the first place. I watched the whole thing
because Andrew asked.
Hold on. This is the thing, though, right? Like, just to give.
Of course, I'm getting fucking rated by Rob Noor right now as we're going through whether or not fucking it's appropriate to what Charlie said against Andrew.
W Raging Tomato. Andrew and Rob are pussies for that. Raging Tomato.
So angry, but listen, hold on. Here's the one thing.
Hold on with that. I can't say it, but I have other information. Raging Tomato kind of went out of bounds and fucked up on that.
Listen,
I'll just say that. If you want to talk to me later, I'll tell you.
Speaking about what we are talking about, I watched it, right? And I'll tell you what, if I was on the whatever podcast or being hosted by anything with Brian, first of all, for everything I know about Brian, he's very I don't know what the way to put this is, but autistic. He's got to be in control, very much so. And so when he's sitting here doing these things, I can see him taking over and allowing the super chats and the whole setup where it's Charlie's going to a hostile territory and they're going to just let the super chat say any horrible thing about her they want, and she's just going to sit there and take it. And Andrew's going to do his Andrew thing, and we all like Andrew, but he's going to sit here and make jokes. And finally, she gets in with one. And
we don't all like Andrew.
No. I mean, all the people that are watching Fabian's thing is coming, but at the same time, it's if you're gonna roast them to their face, well, when they get you back, it's kind of roll with the punches. I don't know. I feel like
I'm not trying to address. I'm not trying. Just to be clear, I'm not trying to, because I did not watch the whole thing. I'm not trying to address the whether the rhetoric was appropriate or not appropriate between the two parties. I'm simply looking at the argument. Is there something are you precluded from making an argument to say this is generally not a good idea if it's something that you've partaken in? And I think that that is a bad argument. I think a lot of smokers will
that's
tell
not
you
the
that
argument
smoking.
Yeah, but that's not the
making.
argument.
No,
So
but
it's
it is when we're relating it back to what we're talking about. Andrew Wilson is perfectly
not.
justified. It is. Andrew Wilson's perfectly
it's not.
justified. Hey, shut the fuck up.
I mean, I've
He is
had
perfectly.
one
Hey,
divorce,
no,
it's
no,
a
that
red
was not an
flag.
invitation.
No, let
I feel like
him
you're just
go.
sucking Andrew's dick now at this point. Like,
Okay.
I love
was
Andrew.
I was
do.
defending. Yeah, I was
But-
defending him before Rob Nor rated you. You can scroll back the VOD. Okay, this has like been
that's
my
not
position.
what I'm saying. I'm just
I
saying,
think
like, that's not
I
the
think it's
argument. It's not
perfectly-
relevant.
I think it's
Forcing an
perfect-
irrelevant argument.
Hey, no,
Okay,
hey,
great.
Come on,
That's
let
fine.
Lactoid make a case.
I think it's perfectly fine to again make a heuristic statement to say it is generally not a good idea to do X. And if somebody points out, aha, well, you don't comply with this heuristic 100%. That doesn't nullify the heuristic. That doesn't mean that it's not like a
True,
accurate,
but it's not relevant to what we're talking about.
It doesn't make it an inaccurate observation. So
Lactoid, my problem is
so I
you
don't.
give-
So again, I don't
Let him
see.
do it. Let him do it.
I don't see if you're simply making the argument that it is heuristically it is a bad idea to go with a woman that has a whole bunch of bodies. I don't even see what bringing up that the person who makes that statement, bringing up their body count actually even has to do with anything. Like that's not actually even relevant. I'm pretty sure
it's
that's an
not
ad hom by
The reason
definition.
it's not relevant is because, and this is my problem with our Nick Fuentes conversation, you're not talking about people who actually just make the heuristic argument. You're talking about people who make the most inflammatory, insulting comments to people and then defend them as if they did make a heuristic argument. Andrew Wilson almost never has ever said it is just generally a bad idea to date women with high body counts. He almost exclusively says, "You're a fucking whore. I refuse to be."
To be fair,
like,
isn't he
preached at-
mostly talking to whores though? Like
No,
literal
but stop.
whores.
Hold on, stop.
You know what I
Please.
mean? Like, come on now.
Stop,
I mean, like
stop.
when we're talking in Nala, like, I mean, she's a fucking whore.
Here's
Hold
the
on,
issue.
like,
I get
you know what I mean?
Sid,
Like,
shut the fuck up.
like
This is
a
my
literal
problem.
whore.
I accept Fabian's interruption, but the reason I don't like it is because then you want to jump in and then he wants to jump in and then stop. Let me get it
Not
out.
me.
I'm just saying we're gonna be
people-
fair, you know.
No, but these people
I got a vision
never
for you.
actually make the heuristic arguments that they claim and defend. They always insult, attack, and completely overgeneralize. And then because Lactoid, and I love you, you enjoy and appreciate dissenting voices disproportionately, and I get that. There's higher value in dissenting voices than concurring ones. I get it. But that doesn't mean you need to fucking carry water for dudes who have never once simply made the argument they're trying to defend when they get criticized for making the argument they actually made. So when he says, "I will not be lectured by a woman who takes 50 dicks in her mouth," Charlie absolutely has the right to say, "Your wife has 3 baby daddies," because they're doing the same thing. And that's Charlie's point, is I can also describe the circumstances of your sort of argumentative base
Unfavorably.
in just as uncharitable a way to discredit you, because that's exactly what you do every time. And you don't get to be a pussy and say, "Well, I'm just
And he
saying
cried
it's
like a
heuristic."
bitch about it.
Yeah, when
Go
you
ahead, let's
never
go to-
actually make just the heuristic argument.
Let's go to Gibbs and then Corey.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh,
so
also,
I'm just-
we're not gonna end up doing the top. I wanted to.
Oh,
fix-
God.
Well, let's do it
Of
next
course.
week. We'll do it next. Yeah,
Of
we'll
Next
do it
week.
course.
Next week.
Alright.
I do want to do the
I'm
topic.
into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe Greg will be able to.
I think
attend.
it's a good topic, and I want to do it. But yes, so when we're sitting here talking about this, right? Like, listen, right? I'm divorced. I'm the jaded one. I agree that as a divorcee,
Red flag being divorced.
Red
Red
flag.
flag.
Yeah,
Red
it's
flag.
a red flag.
Red flag.
It's sure. I
red
agree. I
flag
agree
and
it's a
red
flag.
hair. Yeah.
Hey, that's true.
Saying.
Some people would say in some ways it's a green flag because I've not had multiple try to get married again afterwards. We've taken time as Fabian to work on herself, right? They're not rushing into another long-term commitment, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways that's a good thing. However, I got told the other day by Latina, and she just happened to be Latina, but I was out trying
Just
to raise the
happened to be.
ladies. Yeah, and she goes, "Hey,
Just happened to be crazy. and
you don't have any kids and you're 34." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right." She goes, "And you're divorced." Like, she's like, "That's a bit of a red flag that you have no kids. Most people our age all have kids." And I'm like, "Well, that's a regional thing, I think, because kids are we're not having kids overall, except in America. That's a problem. We're talking about the replacement theory, not replacement theory, replacement rates all the time, right? That's the issue." So I'm like, okay, I guess these red flags are subjective, And as somebody who is divorced, I feel like I could say if you've been divorced more than once, that's I would say it's a multiplier when it comes to red flags. For each one, it's each divorce 10 times more 10 times more than the last one, right? We're like square in the root of divorce. And so when they're sitting here telling me she's got 3 divorces, that's concerning. I would be concerned. I think Charlie's right to bring that up. However, I just really like, I love roasting. I love shit talk. Y'all have seen me on panels. I do some shit talk. But I generally, despite what y'all may believe, unless I don't like you and haven't established history, I don't roast people first. But then people will roast me, and I come from Halo, and I come from roast shows. So I'm really fast on my feet with roast, and I'll hit you about 15. Only 8 of them will be good, but 8 of them will be really good. And the others will be funny, but I hit you with 15, and you hit me with 2, right? And so then after I do that, usually people back off and lay down. But like if I roast them back and I cook them, and they cook me back real good, guess what? You got to eat that crow. And I hate people that sit here and use tactical insults and then can't handle the tactical insults back. We call that big bitch behavior. And I'm a little disappointed that's what turned out in this one, because generally the roasting goes back and forth on this. Everybody's mad because Charlie got 1 dig out of the 50.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's kind of funny to me.
Yeah. So one, I want to, the reason why we're not doing the topic, I think we should all blame FQ. It was her super chat.
Bro, you run the stream. You could be like, interesting comment and move
we
on.
could do the topic. We could do the topic now. I mean,
at this point, I kind of wanted Dr. Greg here, and it's like stream's ending in like 40 minutes, anyways.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? Is anybody else having like issues with YouTube in like last week? Like out of nowhere, like the last 2 streams, I just keep getting like bit rate warnings. Like
YouTube and Streamlabs have been crashing really bad for me when I've been using them. Like my camera.
Yeah, I'm using Streamlabs, but I'm having no issues on Streamlabs end, and then I just keep getting like stream health bit rate warnings on YouTube's end out of nowhere. Like it was fine until a week ago.
Sometimes Streamlabs do that to me. Anyway, without Streamlabs. Anyway, whatever. Fine. Hey, anyway, back to it. Okay, I just wanted to blame the woman, and it's a woman's fault. Certainly not a man's. I had nothing to do with this. So like moving back. So I didn't see the podcast. I just saw the one the one dunk, which was an excellent dunk.
I saw like a couple clips. Yeah.
I commend Enemy Charlie. Right, hit him right in the feels. It was it was super effective. And we love to see it. But in any case, back to it. Like I was trying to make a disambiguation previously on the high body count thing, and sorry, who's doing the clicking? Is it Gibbs? I think it can't be Lactoid, right? It's not Lactoid.
Couldn't have been me.
Like, maybe it's Scott. I don't.
It's not me.
Oh my god!
I mean, I heard it and I wasn't clicking anything.
I don't know. Okay, sorry. One of you guys are fucking lying to me. You're like doing this on purpose.
You saw me. I wasn't even at my desk.
I know it wasn't you, Lactoid. I know it wasn't you. Unless you're being diabolical and like have one of those automatic clickers that people use like during the pandemic to show they're doing work. But anyway, which I don't put past them. I was trying to draw a distinction between relationships and sexual activity, right? These things are very much correlated, right? In our society, they tend to be correlated, and without a doubt, right? But I think there is value in disambiguating, like having sex with an individual and having a relationship with them, right? It doesn't even, like, we're talking like a one-night stand, for instance, right? Like you can call a relationship, but like that's a bit of a stretch, right? The point is that you've had a sexual encounter with a person, right? Or let's say you're even more adventurous, right? Maybe Gibbs is on this level. That like you go to a sex club with your partner, right? Those things exist. And you can have a whole bunch of sexual encounters very quickly, right? In a very short span of time. Does that say anything about your ability to pair bound, right? I think these things are like super oversimplified. They're talking about relationships. And again, I think there's value in the data and like the things that Scott was saying. I'm not saying that he was like completely off base or whatever the fuck, right? I'm saying that like, but the thing that you're really identifying is these serial dating, right? Which also, correlates with like having high sexual partners, right? Because of each person you've been with. But it's like the inability to stick with a relationship, to commit, or whatever the fuck is interfering. That would be the thing that should be a red flag about pair bonding, rather than simply a number of sexual partners. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
There's nuance, yeah, for sure.
I think we agree with that. So let's talk about artificial sweetener.
Wait a minute, Scott.
I was trying to figure out my stream stuff. I apologize.
You didn't hear what I said, because that was mostly directed to you.
I was probably sex clubs.
Yeah,
are
I was
based-
just trying to figure out how to set up something so my stream would stop crashing. I apologize.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
I'm
most
normally pretty
people-
locked in. Okay, it's just like
Yeah,
in this
I
current
understand.
moment, I'm trying to figure it out real quick.
Most people could benefit from auditing their own principles and identifying whether they actually abide by them. Because I totally agree with what you're saying, Kai, in the sense that some couples engage in sort of three-way or sex club or whatever kind of vibes, and it's conservatives will be the first to say, listen, what you do in your home is your business, and then they'll also be the first to be like, you shouldn't be doing that in your home. And it's right? Yeah, definitely. People should be more nuanced.
Some conservatives, some.
And I think so, if you are conservative and you want to give heuristics, as a conservative, you actually have a greater level of responsibility to frame those heuristics as heuristics every time you make the argument, instead of being hyperbolic and accusatory and condemning, and then trying to and only ever mentioning it as a heuristic when you get attacked on.
Why
the
do
way
you have
that
a
phrase
higher
your
responsibility
argument.
if you're conservative?
Because you're the one who is saying that we shouldn't care what people do generally, and we should have more grace for people's level of individuality and the individual circumstances of a given action. And yet we are the first to try to be like, oh, I'm going to frame all of my heuristics as blanket insults to everybody who engages in a behavior even closely related to one that I don't like.
Yeah, I don't think this is. I think conservatives are perfectly fine with maybe conservative libertarians. We are less
Not you,
interested in
Lacroix,
using
not
not me,
libertarian.
of course, but what I would call libertarian and what 95% of the country would call libertarian.
The touristy
but not Scott.
libertarian.
I'm a tourist, Scott.
Yeah.
You're a tourist.
Yeah.
No, I agree with him. I agree with him. It's more small government
We're-
conservatism.
Right.
has that
Yeah.
value.
Small government. Yeah. So we might say, well, look, based on XYZ principles, we don't want the government to be intervening and interfering in people's right to do things that we think are bad ideas. But there has never been a prohibition on social stigma. In fact, social stigma is how we try to address those issues, right? It's instead of having the government come and make you do XYZ, we say, hey, you should do XYZ, and we're going to rely on community structures to try to compel you to do XYZ. And a big part of that is shaming.
Yeah, but my issue is, I think you cannot have an overall conservative worldview and extend shaming to the degree that these red pill podcasts do, because it's still the reason we believe the reason we believe the government shouldn't do it is because we generally believe in the value of America as a country that lets people do what the fuck they want.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. In the same way they have the right to do the bad thing, I have the right to talk shit about it, right? We are all working within our rights. I don't think there's anything inconsistent with believing the government can't stop them from sleeping with 50 people, or stop me from criticizing them for sleeping with 50 people. I don't want the government doing either of those things. But I'm in that same vein, I'm perfectly fine criticizing them for sleeping with 50 people, and you're perfectly fine for criticizing me for criticizing them for sleeping with 50 people as well.
I agree. Yes, obviously we can say what we want, and everyone can criticize us for that, and then those people can be criticized for what they say. But what I'm saying is there is still core values there, and I believe the core value of small government conservatism, or tourism libertarianism, as some may call it, is the idea that there's a reason why we don't want people over-policed, and that is because we generally believe that some things just aren't people's business outside of the home. And to the extent that they are that people share it, there is a value in just laughing and saying, live and let live. We are not supposed to be the party of fucking you need to worry about 13 different ethical implications of every little thing you do in terms of its externalities on the supply
That's what
chain.
you're
blah, blah, blah.
demanding. You're
Like-
demanding that level of nuance. When I'm saying,
No, I'm
saying
not.
you don't have to. I'm saying, hey, generally, like, don't go fuck a bunch of people. Like a very, very generalized statement. Does this apply to everybody?
That's exactly what I'm prescribing. Is that you say
avoid
it
people
like that.
avoid people who fuck a bunch of people. Perfectly fine statement to make. Is it super nuanced? No. Is it very generalized? Is it a heuristic? Yes.
But that is the level of nuance I'm asking for, and even you consider it not that nuanced. What I'm saying is, Andrew Wilson doesn't say generally you should try to fuck fewer people. Andrew Wilson will say you're a disgusting fucking whore, and I refuse to even have a conversation with someone who's had 50 dicks in their mouth.
Okay, but again,
that doesn't meet my bare minimum level of nuance.
I haven't seen all of Andrew Wilson's.
It was I gave a timestamp on Twitter.
I haven't seen
my Twitter.
I haven't seen all of Andrew Wilson's content, right? But like every time I've ever seen him say something like that, he's talking to a literal whore, and I don't like.
So why? I don't know why that you say that like that. Would
yeah.
make it
Why
better.
is it okay that he's afraid to engage with whores?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not. What do you mean? Okay, that he's afraid? I don't think Andrew Wilson is afraid to engage with whores.
He is.
Like that's clearly not true.
So in this
like,
conversation, Nala
this feels like a hate boner.
No. Like. Listen to the hate boner at least, and then you can maybe critique it as that.
Wait, so they got a hate boner. I'm on his dick. It's like you're right in the middle, the perfect spot. Is that what it is, Scott?
No. So here's my thing: is it's like
I'm just like I'm not gonna suck Andrew Wilson's dick. But also, I think it's
thing. If it's a hate boner, then let me say it so that you can then critique the actual point. Because it sounds like you're starting to be afraid of the point as well. Nala gave a factual critique about what the Bible says relative to what Andrew was claiming. And Andrew is notorious for defaulting in those arguments to his safety of I don't get to and neither do you get to interpret the Bible because I'm Orthodox and blah, blah, blah. Instead of giving that carte blanche argument he knows loses him every conversation because he doesn't actually believe it, he decided to instead retreat from the argument as to whether or not what he was saying was actually congruent with the belief system he claims. He decided to instead call Nala a whore and say that's why she doesn't even get to make the argument. That is textbook. I am retreating because I am afraid of my argument on the merits, and so I am going to deploy a tactical insult to win the optical argument because I know the point isn't exactly favorable to me. He teaches this.
Let me respond. Let me respond to that. Hold on. Let me respond to this.
All right, I want to respond after you. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like this is a bit of a goalpost shift, right? Which is already like a topic shift, right? Away from like, is having a high body count bad, or talking about that, to now we're just talking about, is Andrew Wilson consistent in his principles and argumentation on these shows, which I feel like is a meta conversation of, is Andrew Wilson bad for the conservative movement, and do we dislike him or some shit?
Well, right? Andrew Wilson's not even a conservative in the traditional sense. He has agreed to that to me in a debate. He thinks conservatism means conserving European theocracies that predate the United States, whereas most people, when they think conservatism, obviously are thinking of constitutional American conservatism. He agrees he is not a conservative in terms of like American conservatism.
Yeah,
so he is definitionally bad for that cause.
Okay, yeah. I feel like you kind of just proved my point to interrupt me, to be like, let me tell you this previous dunk I got on Andrew Wilson.
No, it's not a dunk. It's not a dunk.
Like it feels like you had just full blown have a hate boner. So now we're talking about Andrew Wilson and how much you dislike the way he argues.
That's what we've been talking about.
Right. It was driven by you and your desire to be like, let's all shit on Andrew Wilson.
It was me giving an example of why it's valuable to give nuance in a conversation.
Right. My argument was, right, like I don't know the full corpus of Andrew Wilson's fucking debates to be able to determine to what degree he's talking about generalities and whether or not we should avoid people with high body counts versus to what degree he says he insults a literal whore from time to time for being one, right? And you're saying, but in this moment with this specific quote that I'm using, where he was talking about Nala, yeah, you're probably right. I don't fucking know. Like maybe he threw that in on the whatever podcast because he was losing the argument or something and felt that was like a rhetorical dub to like talk shit. I don't even know how much I care about that in that specific thing. The meta conversation about whether or not like the heuristic is valid to say that generally this is the thing, and then the conversations about like, okay, what you were saying earlier was, well, he doesn't use it as a heuristic. He doesn't use it as a generalization. He uses it as a means to avoid a valid criticism or an argument or as an attack.
Yeah.
Maybe like I feel like I've seen that, but I've only seen that in fucking clips of him. Like I don't give a fuck enough about Andrew Wilson's entire debate history to know whether or not he uses it that way.
He only describes it as a heuristic defensively, but when he deploys the argument offensively, it is never just a heuristic.
Well, hold on. Fabian is actually right. Fabian's right about this, right? Like, let me give you an example. Let's just use Nala, okay? Nala is a great example, right? Nala is a whore, right? Literally by definition, right? And I think
not anymore, apparently. I haven't kept track.
Hold on. Just trust me, Corey.
I don't even know who
tell me
it
if
is.
I'm wrong here. Nala is a whore, right? She made her riches from being a whore.
Who knows what she is now?
Let me finish. God damn it!
I was just trying to be fair. I'm sorry. Trying to be fair.
All right. Now she's claiming to have. She's actually, exactly, Corey. She's over here repeating it, claiming your victories. It's bullshit. Anyway, we're typical. Anyway, so we're sitting here. She's a whore, and we're coming in here, and she's saying she's come to Jesus. You know, this reminds me of a story from the Bible. And if y'all are Christians, y'all should know this story. It's of I think it's Rehab or Rohab or whatever the fuck her name is of Jericho. Right, she was a whore and she helped out the Israeli spies in Jericho, right? And then they came out. You know, Lactoid wouldn't like it because his
Israelite spies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You don't like him either, Prime, but it's a biblical story. I guess they've always.
No. I'm saying Israelite is different from Israeli. That's all I was making the point.
Well, I was just going to give you credit that they had the Mossad back in the old days. They got the Mossad.
Mossad
seems like a trend. Anyway, so listen, she's a whore. If I called Rahab of Jericho a whore. She is a whore. She's gonna, and I guess what? Probably her takes on moral philosophy, even though she's a definitive figure in the Bible, and like had to come to Jesus thing. Well, not come to Jesus, but had a Jewish awakening in a similar way to Nala has come to Jesus. It's kind of like, hey, you're still a whore. You made your riches off being a whore. We're gonna call you out, and you don't get credit for being a metaphysical philosopher just because you took 50 dicks. I agree with
He wasn't asking for credit. He was simply making an objective argument.
I want to respond to this.
Hold on, just let me finish. Let me finish. Then you can start. However, that being said, if you're going to call people a whore in a derogatory way and say that you have no fucking background or whatever, if I was to talk to Ray Suka about dinosaurs and she's a PhD in paleontology and is an OnlyFans bop, guess what? I would get schooled. You know, so you're taking that risk. And so far, Charlie's the only one that's able to school him back. And I mean, like, I don't think being a whore gives you any kind of metaphysical thing. I also don't think it discounts you.
Andrew was the one.
Sorry, hold on, Jeff. I want to. One, I agree with that last thing you said. It certainly doesn't discount an individual. Two, like, in Christianity, like the whole thing is about supposedly, right? Which is this part is completely bullshit, but like this proves my point. That it's supposed to be a forgiveness, and like you should be able to, approach Jesus Christ after doing the quote unquote bad thing, and then be forgiven, and then be led into the tribe, right? Like that's what it's supposed to be. It's always been bullshit, right? And this conversation is another example of that. It's always been bullshit, but that's like supposedly the goal. And we see that. And
just to be clear, I'm an atheist. Just throwing that out.
I know. Thank you.
Just making sure nobody was painting that on me as like a false Christian or something.
Don't
lie,
you are.
I assure you, I was not thinking of you, Scott. Right?
I didn't say you. I just meant clarification.
God, don't lie. You dress up in the Orthodox robes on the weekends. Don't lie.
But like, I don't. This is the kink. But anyway, so I also reject this idea, right? That conservatives used to agree with me on this, but reject this idea that like you shouldn't. There are people who are invalidated from discussions because of their past, right? Like conservatives don't like it, right? And really push back against it when some liberal, some lefty, right, says like, oh, well, you voted for Trump, right? And so I don't have to listen to your opinion, right? You're a bad person. You did the bad thing. And so your opinion is invalidated here, right? Or, hey, because you voted for Trump, right? Or because you have like views that differ from me on race or something, that means you're a racist also. So I'm not going to bother to debate you, right? And then even going further than that, and we've seen the context like with Nick Fuentes, right? Like, hey, are there some people who are like undebatable, right? Where you shouldn't platform them at all? A lot of leftists will say, hey, like we shouldn't be talking to people like Fuentes. It makes the world a worse place, right? In fact, you're doing harm by just talking to them. Right. And I've rejected that continuously. I see conservatives reject that continuously. But now we have Andrew Wilson here saying, you had 50 dicks in your mouth, and now I refuse to talk to you. And then that's being treated as somehow legitimate. No, it's completely illegitimate to do that. Right. And it's a way to avoid the conversation.
Yeah. The issue is Nala wasn't the one asking for meta-ethical credit based on her past. Nala was simply making a fact-based argument about what the Bible says versus what Andrew says. Andrew knows his argument against that is extraordinarily weak to most people, which is that we don't get to interpret the Bible, and so you should talk to my individual Orthodox fucking preacher about it. So instead, he retreated to asking for meta-ethical credit on the grounds of his past, right? And that's why Charlie poked at him, was if he's the one who's going to get in a conversation with Nala and demand meta-ethical credit, that he is somehow above her to the extent that she can't even debate him about this stuff, when he's afraid of engaging with an argument, well, then it's time to get his background out on display for everyone. Since he's requesting meta-ethical credit based on his background, it's time the audience hears a little bit more about his background if he's going to consistently appeal to it. Because when he calls a woman a whore, he's not attacking someone who's looking for their own credit for having been a whore. He is appealing to his own credit for not having been a whore, talking to a whore. But as a result, it becomes completely in bounds to tear apart every little bit of his personal life, since he's the one who's deciding that matters in the conversation.
Who's got more money, Nala or Andrew? Because that's going to determine
Nala.
who's more.
Nala
Okay, well, in that
probably
case,
has more money.
according to Lactoid, Nala is going to be the more morally superior one. That's who we should listen to. Because she has more money.
So, was this before you're saying the 50 dick? Because I haven't seen this particular quote. I don't know the context in which it was made.
Long before the Charlie conversation.
I don't know if this was just like an insult and then he continued to talk to her, which is kind of what I'm suspecting was the case.
No, it was an insult, and then he tried to move the conversation onto a different topic.
Was this before or after she like gave up the whole sex work thing and like
after?
So at this point she's claiming to be like a saved. She's given it all up. She's all
This was
repentant.
the big stream where she was actually making a quality sort of argument as to why it might have taken a longer time for her, being someone who I think was a child of a pastor, if I'm not mistaken, took so long to kind of come back around. And she was making the argument that I've heard many times from people who aren't OnlyFans models, who are just normal chaste people who, just didn't jive with the church, which was that people like Andrew drive people away from the church because they're not acting in accordance with the Bible. And then Andrew looked at her and said, I'm not going to be lectured morally by someone who's had 50 dicks in her mouth, reinforcing the exact issue, which is that people like him acting not in accordance with the Bible do a very bad job of getting people to believe in the Bible, or even because he's not evangelistic, so he would just say, I'm not an evangelist. They do a really good job of keeping people from believing in the Bible by the way that they act.
Someone else have issues?
Oh, sorry.
I'm hearing it.
Yeah, you're good now. Go ahead. You can respond like to it if you want.
Yeah.
No, Gyptan wasn't done, I don't think.
No, I mean, I kind of was. I just wasn't sure if I was having audio issues.
Okay. I mean, generally speaking, I think that if it was used as like a tactic to try to avoid a particular line of questioning that was difficult, then it could have been like a cheap shot. I haven't seen this particular situation. If it was just, basically like an insult and then he continued to engage with her, like I'm still not the biggest fan of it, like insulting somebody on a debate. I know it happens, but I don't think that's necessarily dodging at that point. Just if you insult somebody and then you move on to address the topic. Like there's pretty strong debaters that consist, like Synth does this a lot, where like he'll just like be really mean and then actually still address the point, even though there's like a lot of mean shit worked in. So yeah, I guess I'll just see the actual context to decide for myself. If what you're saying is true, let's just roll with it for a second. That like here you have somebody, and to some extent like
let's roll to hit. It's fun.
Yeah, if you have somebody who, okay, because I remember around this time there was a lot of people, including Andrew and not just Andrew, who were pretty skeptical as to Nala's actual the sincerity of her conversion, right?
Yeah, and I was too. That's the only. I don't watch whatever. That's the reason I was watching that show. I was very skeptical.
Yeah, you can be skeptical because I think it's like a little bit too convenient, right? You have somebody.
I also was watching whatever only for Nala. You're right.
Yeah. It's a little bit too convenient where it's like, okay, like now somebody's done this. They've made millions and millions of dollars doing this thing that's like, pretty overtly against
Gibbs, send me a link. I want to know what she looks like. I don't know who this person is.
And then all of a sudden, right, when it kind of becomes in vogue to do this, like when some other people are doing this, then she jumps ship and decides to do it. Yeah. So, I mean, what it could have been, I mean, I sort of understand the sort of like, it's not a fair debate tactic, but I understand, I guess, the emotion behind it of like, you're gonna, as somebody who's like just come to this, you're gonna tell me what it's all about after like spending an entire lifetime of doing the exact opposite. And now you're the expert. And it is sort of an appeal to authority. Yeah, it is.
I mean, her father is also a trained scholar in it, so it's not like when she was acting not in accordance. Sure, but it's not like when acting not in accordance to it. She was just completely blind, and then went in and thinks her 2 weeks of sort of Bible 101 is enough to beat the great Andrew Wilson, who is a recent convert himself, by the way. She has had a life of hearing like really true and deep biblical theology from her classically trained father and not being convinced.
What is this? Nah, dog.
No, I mean, if we're diving,
if her conversion,
you think her dad just shuts up at home? Like, what are we? That's more ridiculous to me.
I mean, clearly she wasn't listening for a lot of that.
It's not about like the person's level of knowledge on the topic. It's about whether or not anyone could rationally perceive their shift to be genuine when a few months before that they're talking about how their favorite thing to do is to target married men, and they absolutely love fucking married men because it's so hot that they're cheating on their wives. And then they disappear for 2 weeks, and then they come right back to the public figure spot to be like, I'm converted, give me attention, watch me do a little cooking video at home where I rub this brand new rolling pin like a dick. Don't you like this, good old Christian girl here? Like, no, she's like, there's absolutely zero humility present. Yes. And it's obviously a fucking grift. Anybody with fucking eyes knows it's a grift.
Listen.
So yeah, he treats a whore like a dumb whore. Why are we talking about Andrew Wilson's debate tactics on whatever with Nala Ray this one time?
Well,
what's the point of this convo?
I said 30 minutes ago,
let's
talk about artificial sweeteners, but then you guys said
and then
we're not doing that
you
tonight.
drop this conversation and push it forward. So what's the goal here?
Well, no, I'm not.
What are we talking about?
All the original reason of me bringing this up was to try to sort of bring up what was a currently very popular clip to kind of add in context to the conversation we were having about the value of adding nuance into an individual's sexual history, which you agreed with, and you agreed with it 20 minutes into me bringing it up. But then it was like later on you thought I was being personally too mean to Andrew Wilson. But for like the first 20 minutes of this conversation being brought up, you were with me on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
It was totally relevant.
Lactoid.
He's trying to balance between like not sucking dick and he's trying to maintain that knife's edge.
Lactoid's still about 50 dicks. I think Lactoid might be closeted here.
Yeah,
that's why the real reason why he doesn't like to eat pussy.
I defend the concept of a heuristic. I defend the fact. I defend that despite what level of that's not a whim.
It's a win.
I agree
No,
with the value of a heuristic, but none of these people are actually
Wait,
using
where
these
should be
things
the
as a
win?
heuristic. Is my problem.
I
He
also
doesn't believe in it
agree
just
with
as a
that. I
heuristic.
also agree with that. What I don't know about is getting into the nitty gritty of Andrew Wilson, specifically his argumentation in debates. Because, like, dude, I just don't know enough of the corpus of his arguments. I've seen clips,
Sure.
and those clips are him calling whores.
I'm
And like
simply
that seems to
supporting
be
the
his
argument.
style. Like, I
Yeah.
don't fucking know.
You agree with the argument that a lot of these people who use the heuristics don't actually believe in the heuristic. They actually just use it as a cudgel. I was simply using him
I
as
agree
a
with
very
that.
popular example. I'm just supporting the argument.
And so far as that's true, then like, it's like, then like the debate tactic versus the actual argument are going to be two different things, right?
Yeah.
If one is a tool of rhetoric as a means of shutting down an argument or getting dubs in a debate, like, yeah, sure, that is probably bad. And also, isn't that kind of just the format of whatever? Isn't it
but
an entertainment format where we bring on whores and then we make fun of the whores?
Well,
like,
baby,
you know what I mean? Like, isn't that what whatever does? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does he do that in like more in more serious debates? With like Jake the Rattlesnake and like Jim Bob.
He absolutely does.
Is he doing the same thing always?
If you watch this debate con show, the one he was on with the Muslim guy, it's exactly that. He immediately started off the show with y'all are kitty diddlers, basically, right? Like that was literally for
that's not his argument. His argument was that they were all
and then it was
cousin
fuckers. And cousin fuckers. Yeah.
Cousin fuckers.
Both,
I mean, statistically speaking,
He's
most of them,
okay, that's fine.
Most of them, at least in the UK, are cousin fuckers.
Yeah, but it does
legitimately.
It does.
It's a majority
to the argument.
Let me go here for a second. He goes, okay, so he does that. He absolutely does that all the time. Listen, I'm
yeah, it's a bad argument. I'll give you that. If he does do it consistently, then yeah.
Well, it's not even that it's a bad argument. You and I talk about this video all the time, right? Like whatever is one debate host space, right? We go on. We've been on Tomatoes. We've been on Primes. We've been on all these debate Wix. We've been on all these different spaces. I think everybody here has, right? And listen, I think you and I have come to the conclusion, right? This is infotainment, and part of infotainment is winning. Right. And I think that when we're sitting here talking about this, if the audience leaves and goes, wow, he really dunked on her, then that's what. But I think the only thing that's happened here is, he would have had the 50 clips now, but now it's Charlie had such a good dunk that it's like overshadowing everything. And that's where the real controversy is. And I'm sure it's fine. It's a good news cycle for both. They're both getting a ton of publicity from it. But I'm just sitting here going, hey, y'all are sitting here going, oh, it's a bad debate tactic. Y'all are wrong. It's a fantastic debate tactic if you can do it. And not everybody can do it like Andrew does.
It's a good debate tactic if the goal is to clip farm,
to win,
right? Right, and
it's also a good debate tactic if you.
But I mean, it's not a good argument. It's a bad argument. It's
also not a good. It's not a good debate tactic if you are such an easy person to hit with it. That's what Andrew doesn't realize.
Oh, it just depends on the tactic, the defense tactic, right? Like there's okay, we've all seen what was it, 8 Mile with Eminem. What does he do in the final battle, right? He gives all the insults this guy would have had right up front. And he's like, well, I've already said your insults. I've roasted myself better than you could, and then roast the shit out of him, right? And so, I feel like that's maybe a tactic I would have used if I was Andrew, right, in that situation. I'd be like, you're right, this happened with whatever. But instead, he went on the offensive, and then he had Brian call in, and that ended up badly. But
okay, since we're so stuck on it, I kind of want the further context, right? Because what I saw, I'll just explain what I saw and my opinions based off what I saw, since this is what we're fucking talking about, right? Like what I saw the longer clip.
I did want to move away.
Right, I saw the longer clip, right, where they had apparently agreed to be like, look, you try and convince me of your worldview, and I'll try and convince you of my worldview. And Andrew had a long conversation in that regard, and then eventually her father came up, and she was talking about the fact that her father was a doctor. And then he was like, do you think your father's an idiot? Do you think your father's morally? And then he was kind of memeing on the fact that her father was a conservative and would agree more likely with him on most things than with her. And then it came to be her turn. And she was like, your wife has had multiple baby daddies and been remarried multiple times. And then he loses it. And then I don't know. And then she got in but under your worldview, divorce would be legal. And that's like the longer clip of it, but I didn't see the whole debate on it. I asked you guys earlier if she brought up the kid. You guys said no. So it seems like she's attacking the argument of like, okay, you're not living, like you don't actually believe in the principles that you're putting forward because under your worldview, your wife wouldn't be able to get a divorce. I don't know his full argument as to whether or not there would be exceptions to divorce or not. Like if there was abuse or something like that. Like, so maybe that was a bullshit argument from her, but it seemed like he spurred out a bit.
He did.
Trying to clip farm, maybe he just thought it would be interesting, or maybe he was like, the best thing I can do in this moment is paint her to be like really bad. And then I saw other clips where she was like, yeah, like your wife would have had a better life if she would have aborted her children, which sounds fucking wild and is absolutely just a full-blown low blow, right? Andrew's no stranger to low blows, but I don't see him really like, I don't also haven't seen him, and maybe if I'm wrong, I'll just be very quick.
It's not a low blow.
Maybe I'll be right, like I'll just be very quick. I don't see Andrew going out there saying, and maybe I'm wrong, saying, how dare she do these low blows? It seems like he's just responding in kind, being like, yeah, she ain't got shit on me. I got the dubs, whatever. Like, is he going out there being like, how dare she do that? She can't do that.
He did. He and Rachel did a Twitter space where they complained for an hour about how disgusting it was that she would say that, despite the fact she.
Well, the second thing is super disgusting, but yeah, fair enough.
No, it's not. When he asks, should she have aborted? Do you think she would have had a better life if she aborted the kids? Would she be considered less promiscuous? And Charlie said, under your worldview.
Well, I think under most worldviews, under most worldviews, if you don't have 3 kids, even if you abort them, you would be considered less promiscuous than if you had 3
and that's
kids.
exactly what she was saying in response to a question from him. So not only did he do the woe is me, she was such a mean woman thing, he did it about an answer to a direct question he asked.
Well, actually, you said really, you seem incredulous at that. What's more promiscuous? If you meet a woman who's got 3 divorces with 3 different baby daddies, right? Or someone with 3 divorces, no kids, or just like, let's just even take the divorces out. You meet someone with 3 babies, 3 different baby daddies, or someone with no kids, and they've had some abortions, but you don't know that right off and meet them.
I mean, if I find out, I mean, the only question is like if they're able to hide it from me. So if you have somebody who has 3 kids,
it's not even a hide it, you just didn't notice. But once you ask them and you find out,
but I could also not notice their kids. If I find out they've had 3 abortions, or I find out that they've had 3 kids, it doesn't like they still the same level of promiscuity.
You're gonna find out their kids.
Yeah, this is different. Yeah, that's
hold on. Potentially is colorblind and kid blind.
No, hold on. If you go on a date with somebody, you're gonna find out immediately if they have kids. No, hold on. You might. I'm not talking about initial meeting them. But if you go out, like, say on a date, or like this person, like if you generally don't have 3 kids with either baby daddies, they're going to be considered less promiscuous than someone that's had.
This is relying.
No. Promiscuity isn't the problem here, right? Like
it's the social
in terms of like how other people think. No. What I'm saying is that it's like the issue is that people if the question is, will you have a better life if you have aborted the kids? Well, one, you'll have more money. Yes, true, right? But also in terms of your social standing, yes, abortions are easy, trivial to hide, right? And kids,
and also you're fucking with kids
in a single mother, or let's say a single mother with 3 kids, right? Yes, there's a large amount of cultural baggage that gets attached to that individual. You'll have a worse life. Having like,
father
kids. Yeah. Sorry, what?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, it's also like, hey, one of them, if they're fucking at home alone or with a roommate or something, that's not their children, right? This other lady, if they're fucking at their house, they got 3 kids there. That's promiscuous behavior.
Gibbs, my only point is
Uncle Johnny's here. Uncle Timmy's here.
Yeah, it seems like you're relying on the only reason why you might perceive somebody with kids as being more promiscuous is just because there's evidence of the fact they had sex. It's like more about a dearth of information. If I found out that somebody had 3 abortions and I found out that somebody had 3 kids, I would view them as the same level of promiscuity because they've had. I mean, at least I've had proof that they've had sex.
Blacktoid, if I have sex with somebody in my house and then I have somebody listening in the other room, is that more or less promiscuous than if I have sex with somebody in my house and there's nobody in the other room? it's more promiscuous. We can agree on that, right? It's more risk-taking behavior.
I don't think Lacto would agree with that.
Somebody can hear the room, can hear me having sex. Correct?
Again, I think promiscuity is a wrong way.
It would be
of looking at
perceived.
the one
No,
word.
like, well, the issue is Andrew Wilson.
It would be perceived as more promiscuous. If I have 3 kids at home and the kids can hear me getting fucked, that's more promiscuous behavior than if I have no kids at home. I'm sorry,
God.
that's just them's the break.
Wait, hold on. So your argument is that people who live in apartments where you can hear are just like inherently more promiscuous than people who have single-family homes?
I'm sorry, but yes, a little bit.
Well, no,
yes.
So
okay.
Let me give you,
all right. Well, then I guess under that definition,
don't use
terrible
the word
definition.
promiscuous,
let me give
word.
the non-brain dead one. Andrew Wilson in that conversation was in the act of pretending to be using heuristics, Lactoid. And
Jesus Christ,
as a heuristic, listen, as a heuristic, Charlie was right that yes, under Andrew Wilson's worldview, he would perceive someone as less promiscuous if he knew they had 3 kids versus if they didn't know they had 3 kids, because as a heuristic,
or if
right?
he
As
knew
a
they had 3 abortions.
Hold on. How would they? This is a heuristic. This is a practical application thing. If a woman wants to be perceived as less promiscuous, it is absolutely better that she have the 3 abortions versus the 3 kids, because she can absolutely hide the abortions and not hide the 3 kids.
There's like a language. So it would be true to say that if you saw somebody with a bunch of different kids from a bunch of different fathers, that you may perceive them as being more promiscuous. That could be true. But whether they are actually more promiscuous or not, that's information that's thus hidden.
That's
and
why she specified from Andrew Wilson's worldview.
And in fact, it could be that, and I guess I would understand this. Somebody maybe if you found out they had an abortion or 3 abortions, you'd view them as more promiscuous, right? You'd view them as somebody who's more willing to have risky engage in risky sex and then do something that Andrew and millions of other people find to be horribly immoral in order to escape the consequences.
Yeah, but the issue is, and she specified from Andrew's, and listen, I disagree with Charlie on the abortion shit. I think abortion is unacceptable past implantation. I think there should be 6-month abortion or 6-week abortion bans in any state that can tolerate them. What I'm saying is, from Andrew's worldview, which is one he claims of practical heuristics, it is absolutely better for a woman who has hearing loss to have
your mic was going underwater.
Yeah.
All right. Like, I don't know why. I think it is.
Assuming if we narrow the goals, if we narrow the goal very specifically to, if your only goal is to not be perceived as promiscuous, then hiding the evidence might be like the best way to get away with that, potentially. Under
his worldview is one of sexual market value. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but
which only involves perception.
Yeah. I don't think that hiding the evidence of your promiscuity, that might lead you to be like perceived as less promiscuous.
No, but displaying the evidence for all to see is much more promiscuous than hiding it. That means indicates shame of your behavior.
I don't know if.
Look at little Timmy. He's in baseball. Wow, you don't even know that your dad.
Dude, I don't think parents do this. I don't think parents do this.
My little kid's valedictorian.
They have their little sex trophies running around like, hey, look what I got. Look what I did. Pretty fucking weird.
He's graduating high school. Where's his father? Well, I haven't spoken to his father in 20 years. So you're just displaying your promiscuity on here. Like, all this
but if it was 7, kids, would you say something differently? It was 7
if it was
kids,
the old woman in the shoe, is she promiscuous?
Yeah. I mean,
if it's what?
The old
woman in the shoe. It was
I don't know the reference.
A fable woman got a bunch of kids in the whatever. Don't worry about it.
Okay, a woman. I would absolutely perceive a woman who had 7 different kids.
About nursery rhymes.
Obviously, kids are different. 7 kids with 7 different women. I would 100 or men, either way, I guess. I would 100% perceive this person as being promiscuous for sure. If I found out this person had 7 abortions, I would also perceive this person as promiscuous, maybe even more so.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. So,
I mean, this is taking.
But the evidence is hidden. But the evidence is hidden, right?
I'm not trying to call Jebtan a liar, but like this feels like we're getting into the weeds. Well, no, I'm not. I'm saying like this feels like we're getting into the weeds. Because like, look, I'll be honest. I saw other like small clips from it, and like Charlie came off like really retarded. Like when she was talking about like fucking like, I'm just saying, like when she was talking about like crime rates and like I saw like some clip about like crime rates and like whether or not like what heuristic, take a shot, chat. What like heuristic they were using in determining, like I said something about like her sister, or like, would she say that it was something along those lines. Again, I didn't watch the whole debate. I watched fucking clips, and I'm trying to remember from clips. So like is that actually what she's communicating? Like, is she actually communicating, I'm working within your worldview of the heuristic thing, and within your worldview, if you hide the abortions, they would thus then be perceived as less promiscuous, and then therefore it would be better by your worldview to hide it because the perception would be that they are less promiscuous, and then that would increase their sexual marketplace value? Or is are they both communicating at a high level at that moment? Because it seems like she was getting a lot of shit wrong, and maybe this was just like a communication that we're highly dissecting now, even though I haven't fucking seen it.
In the clip, she specifically says from your worldview. She doesn't explain, like, say 3 sentences to give the complete context, but she does say from your worldview. But no, they both looked like idiots the whole debate. It was a feminism debate that Andrew Wilson kicked off by talking about COVID lockdowns. Like, neither of them had the best arguments throughout the entire debate. It was pretty shit. That's why all the clips are from like hour 5 and 6.
To take, right? The COVID lockdown and correlations to feminism.
I mean, he didn't give any perspective correlating it to feminism. He just sort of talked about COVID lockdowns and didn't give any connection to how they were connected to feminism.
Likes to talk about that.
Wait,
but,
what was the?
But it potentially could have. The prompt was, is feminism good for society? And then 10 minutes in, Andrew Wilson, and I shit you not, I'm not being uncharitable, he literally just says, they go over definitions for feminism. And he says, and they agree that it's about sort of increasing freedoms for the class of women, blah, 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 and an interest for like individual freedom and equality. Rights. And then he says, how do you feel about freedom and equality in terms of COVID lockdowns? Do you think that was very individualistic and freeing? And he doesn't connect it, like why COVID lockdowns could be blamed on feminism. And we could surmise maybe some loose connections.
Is that about the autonomy comparison?
He didn't make it.
I mean, yeah, that seems to be the connection that we're
again, like, my body, my choice,
that makes sense,
the vaccine
right?
kind of thing.
Sure,
right?
like abortion. No, he didn't talk about vaccines at all.
Okay, my body, my choice, except for the
lockdowns.
Lockdowns. Is that kind of the angle he was going for?
He didn't say my body, my choice either. Like, he really just didn't touch on the connection at all. So what I'm saying is, well, they both sort of gave fragments of a decent argument for their side. There really wasn't a lot of good argumentation going on either way until it got into the sort of more personalized dueling. And I think that's why the only clips from it are from hour 5 and 6.
So, okay. All right.
Jeb seems to be the only one that watched the whole fucking debate.
Yeah. Charlie's a friend, and so I was trying to watch it as I could
you're biased.
that day.
Sure.
No. Charlie's a friend. I'll tell you what she really meant.
Yeah.
No, and I didn't. I literally said he wasn't making a bunch of great arguments either. That's why the thing.
You would say that about your friend.
Hold on, for the record, I also watched the whole thing. And,
and Andrew's a friend.
I actually watched the whole thing, and Charlie got smoked.
Hold on,
I think Gibbs probably has a closer relationship with Charlie.
I met both of them now, and I gotta say, fuck them both. I guess I don't know. I like. They were both shitty arguments, but I did like the spicy.
It annoys me. It annoys me that it seems like the proper path is to, from a debate show perspective, is to ask the most basic fucking questions. Is feminism good for society? Right? How many times have they run that one? For fuck's sakes.
That's not enough, because there's people that still believe that feminism is good for society. So,
or what about, is having a high body count bad?
As many times as is necessary to convince Charlie and people like her that feminism is bad for society. That's how many times we need to have this debate.
The people that want so badly to do that have convinced me that feminism is good for society. So they're not being very effective.
I had a very nuanced conversation planned, right? Shout out to my friend Scott.
I came up with the topic.
And I think it was a very good one, and I think I do that often, but I'm just saying that what succeeds seemingly is let's just do the most basic questions over and over again and have people argue about that. Yeah, or at the very least,
says the moderator.
Can I ask Jeb one question real quick, Jeb? How
Yeah.
you just said you think feminism is good for society?
Yeah, I think overall. Yeah.
Okay,
Especially right now.
and you said you're pro-life.
Yeah.
You see like a incongruence.
Those feminists exist.
No, I mean there's a such thing as net good, where I can disagree with feminism on a couple of key points for ideology, but believe that the overall women in the marketplace in an even sense, getting them the voting rights, all of that.
Yeah, do you think abortion's murder?
Huh?
Do you think abortion is murder?
Yeah.
It's a lot of murders.
It's a lot of people not getting voting rights that they deserve under the Constitution if you don't allow women to vote.
I mean, but we're talking about a massacre that like puts the Holocaust to shame in terms of like how big we're talking. Like we're talking like tens, like what, more than 100 million, maybe even like I don't know the exact numbers, but it's millions and millions and millions and millions.
Bro, what would the quality of life need to be improved in Nazi Germany for the Holocaust?
This is
perfectly a good thing.
But let's
no. I just want to know this equivalency.
The women got
because I'm just saying we've had multiple Holocausts in America.
Hold on. I also like think that
a lot
more on the murder side of things, right? However, the equating that to the Holocaust, where people were starved to death and gassed and went through all the horrors, versus I took out and killed a bunch of cells that are also alive but can't even feel anything. That's not the same. It's not the same. That'd be like me going.
So if only the Nazis did it painlessly.
Hold on. You tell me which is worse. If I shoot that guy over there and he dies instantly, or if I slowly skin him alive and keep him alive for 3 days, from infection, like which one's worse?
Both are murder, and
they're both
one
murder.
is murder and torture.
Yeah, we can't equate them.
Yeah, but hold on. But if the Nazis,
the murder is bad.
Yeah, if the Nazis found out a way to like do it painlessly, and then like they killed 6 million people like this way. Like, oh, but they didn't suffer. I don't care. We're still going to.
That would be better than torturing them all to death and killing them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it would still be sufficiently bad to invade them, and I don't care what voting rights they've given people.
So listen, the people
bite the bullet.
Killing babies are better than the Aztecs.
Hold on, no, stop, Gibbs. I want Lactoid to bite this bullet. You think women shouldn't have the right to vote, then, so that we can have pro-life policy? You would take
I'm
torn
and
on
just
the
say
pro-life pro-choice
flatly women shouldn't have the right to vote. I don't even need abortion on this.
Cool, that's fine that you think that, but Lactoid won't bite that bullet.
Well, hold on. You could say married women can vote, or only married people can vote, and then you got a pro-life policy right there.
I think we should just do landowners only.
Not sexist.
It is sexist.
The problem is that would give the vote to the
all
boomers.
men can vote.
Yeah, but they vote Republican overwhelmingly. Like married
I think
people.
Can
you imagine if only the boomers were voting? Like that'd be
no. We should do. Here's how we should do it. You get 1 vote per acre that you own.
Yeah, dude. The boomers would decide all of policy.
Sure.
I'm ready.
Or wait, hold on. We could. Okay, one other thing. We could
give them.
We could have no. Hold on. We could have
acre.
men and women both vote, but a requirement of voting is being pro-life. Boom.
I want
again. So you agree with me?
Stop it. Right? If you want to continue, then fucking donate to me. All right. Then if not, then stop talking. I want it's officially on the record that I was criticized by Lactoid, an implication of a criticism by Lactoid on the body count.
I was fucking with you.
And then you go immediately, hey, is abortion?
It was a heuristic, Prime. You can't hold me responsible for that. I'm just
no, it's more of a wink and a nod and a feeling and a vibe.
I saw the opportunity and I went for it. Okay.
It was a whim.
It was a whim. I went for it on a whim.
But yeah, I appreciate the discussion, guys. But you guys seem to want to have a longer debate on another debate, a meta debate on this other debate that only one of us has watched. Okay, well, I'm not sure how far that's gonna go. But I appreciate all of you. This was a lot. And audience members, I hope you appreciated this. It's really not what you were. This would be fraud. This would be fraud, right? I put I put out a a topic, a title, and the people did not get that product. I do. I beg for forgiveness. I'm in complete contrition here. But in any case, thanks everyone for being here. Much appreciated. Hit the follow button to whatever platform you might happen to be on. Right? I figure it's better if I don't name the platforms because I'm going to screw it up every time. But I'm on quite a few platforms. So hit the follow button if you enjoyed any and all of this. And let's go to, we're going to give an outro to all these fantastic individuals. Start with my friend Lactoid. Thanks for coming here, friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I just want to say that I think overall feminism has been a net bad for society. I will say that. I don't think it's been a net good. I'm okay with letting everyone who passes my poll exam vote. I'd be okay with that. But obviously, we would have to make the poll exam very restrictive for obvious reasons. If you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
It's poll test. That's a thing, right? Let's never forget that. But let's go to our friend Scott. Much appreciated. I wanted to have like that larger conversation with you on the body count versus the dating and all that. But I guess I'll do that some other time. But thank you, Scott, for being here.
This stream was a shit show, but it's cool. It happens. It was fun. Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube or Twitter predominantly. Fucking YouTube's newest update fucking up my stream, I guess. With Streamlabs, there's like some conflict or whatever. I gotta figure it out. But I will. I follow Fabian Liberty for anarcho-capitalist philosophy debates, reactions, stuff like that. Also, poll taxes are bad, and property tax, poll tests are bad. Property-based voting is bad, but that doesn't mean that women should vote, right? I would absolutely repeal the 19th Amendment, right? It's been a disaster, and here's why. Voting is not a right. It never has been a right. It's a bullshit right that was created to maintain your slavery. It is throwing you this bullshit justification for the state by saying that actually you have a will in how your government runs when your government is run by a bunch of elite pedophiles that barely listen to your vote anyways, and your vote doesn't matter. And there's definitely some level of fraud, but who fucking knows how much or to what degree it affects elections. Just know that the people in power are, they give you the ability to vote because they know that you can't actually change anything with it, not to any significant degree most of the time, unless there's an overwhelming change in the philosophy and people. And as it stands, women tend to vote for socialists. So if someone comes out and says, hey, here's this thing that will reduce the amount of socialism, statistically speaking, yeah, fuck it, let's do that. So fuck it, I don't care if women lose the right to vote because it's not a fucking right. And if you want to do the same thing for black people, I'll do that too, because black people tend to vote for socialists. I'll get rid of their voting rights as well because it's not a fucking right. Though I would be a little bit more leery of a government that wants to get rid of blacks' voting capacity because they're probably more likely to be fascist than just getting rid of women's. I think the overall calculation isn't quite as bad for women as it is for blacks. But if you want to come out and repeal black voting rights and women voting rights, and it's like not actually tied to a fascist movement, it's just getting rid of socialism, hell yes. So I support getting rid of blacks' right to vote, and I support getting rid of women's right to vote because that is a net positive to reduce socialism in our current government. And if you want more based and awesome takes like that, follow me at Fabian Liberty.
Yeah, you see, there'd be people who would say, hey, Prime, why would you have Scott on? Right? Why would you platform a person like this? I say, hey, go fuck yourself, right? Despite everything.
I love you, Prime. I love you, Prime.
Too.
You're a great friend. I just think the world would be a net positive if you personally lost your voting rights.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate, and I appreciate, but you say that because from your perspective, you're trying to make the world a better place, right? With less socialism.
100%.
So yeah, it's a statement.
I want you to be freer by getting rid of your voting rights, and I mean that with zero irony.
Okay, I accept it. And I'll invite him next week as well. So let's go.
Hell yeah.
To our friend Corey. Thanks so much for being here, Corey. Thank you for watching the madness.
It was entertaining, to say the least. I hope we do eventually cover the topic that was planned, because I did read both of the articles, and I think there is something to explore there. So I hope we can find out at some point.
Yeah, I want to join for that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. Gibbs, Jebtan, Scott, Lactoid. It was a pleasure. Love you, Brian.
Thank you so much, friend.
Corey is a
Jeb,
feminist who wants women to vote.
I am a feminist.
I certainly want people to vote. Myself.
I also support getting rid of Canadians' right to vote in U.S. elections while we're at it, since I'm
not offended.
Famous. Justin Bieber,
I'm not Canadian. I'm a Quebecer.
Here's
is it Quebecer or is it Quebecois? Or is
Quebecois? I'm Anglophone. Yeah, it's Quebecois. But I am not. I technically am not Quebecois.
As an Anglophone, you're a Quebecer. Okay.
Well, this is something we could talk about at some point in time. Is that and I'm not hard set on this, but I'm interested in the idea of expanding the franchise to people who aren't citizens. So people who are here long term, right? After that look on
Fuck, I need to clarify. Yeah, I'm for getting rid of Somalians' right to vote as well. Clearly, they will vote for more welfare. The evidence is in.
That look on Lactoid's face is the reason. I know it's going to be a big conversation, but yeah, I think that's an interesting thought to expand the franchise to individuals who are, for instance, are here or illegal long-term residences, or
you also want to lower the age for voting, right? I think you mentioned 16 or something.
Yeah, I've talked about that as well. Yeah. I'm all about expanding the franchise. Yeah, I actually mean that.
I'm trying to stop fascism, but Prime over here wants to give Gen Z males the right to vote. That's crazy.
Who are from Guatemala, who are fresh off the boat from Guatemala.
Groypers, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, Groypers. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
The Groypers.
I wouldn't deny my.
To be fair, we might get a Gavin Newsom presidency if that happens.
unlike Scott, right? I'm about expanding the franchise, right? To even people who completely disagree with me. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to my Republican friends, right? All of you should have equal access to voting. All right. So thanks, Jebtan. Did I say? Well, did I give you? Yeah, I did. So thank you for that, and we'll have you back on. I gave you an outro, right? Whatever.
I know, but I don't need one. It's fine.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, let me give you.
I don't stream or anything. Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. We don't care about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, no. I have recently turned heel on the anti-feminists. In 2016, I agreed that feminism had gotten its goal and it was going too far. And then, the red pill and manosphere became overly dominant on the internet. Gen Z is growing up hearing all of these complete bullshit, fake facts that are making them hate women more and more. And so I think feminism has utility once again and is good for society, and it's extra important now. So people should generally be feminist in the equality for the sexes way, and men should hate women less. And I think women voting is a good thing. Bold take.
Courageous.
See?
Yeah.
Courageous. In this crowd? Yeah, I think it is actually.
Yeah. So my bad. I have to change my position because Jebtan redefined feminism as equality in the sexes, and therefore I am the only feminist here, and none of you could be considered.
You think women shouldn't be able to vote? Men should. How's that equality?
Hold on.
To be fair, we didn't let the Germans vote after we discovered all the shit they were doing too. So.
If anybody's a feminist here, it's Papa Gibbs. I'm just saying.
That's
I
true.
think so too.
No true Scotsman of feminism from every direction. It's almost like it's an inconsistent, incoherent philosophy.
I gave my definition.
Thank you, Gibbs. Gibbs, thanks for being here, friend.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks so much. I just want to say a couple closing thoughts here. I appreciate for being here. Always is the best. Thank you, all you guys, as always. It's been fun. I also want to say Jeb has, been happily in a relationship for 8 years, and it's totally altruistic. The reason why he's defending Charlie, and it's totally not because she's attractive and liberal women are more immoral and hedonistic. Not at all. Jeb is a stand-up guy that would never have happened because we've seen Jeb defend so many ugly women against Andrew and all these other times.
It's because I hate Andrew. It's because I think Charlie's hot. What is it?
It's just Charlie and Nala.
I'm just Charlie. No, I'm just saying it's total coincidence that these are the two.
Yeah, only hot women get to vote. Only hot e-girls get to vote.
Hold on, and not. This is my closing. Hold on, and not Gorlock.
Well, that might reduce socialism, right? Conservatives do tend to be more attractive.
Listen, not Gorlock Destroyer.
I could get behind that.
Wait, Gorlock the Destroyer was born a man.
Or Mount Everest. That chick that was on there with Kel. Either one. I didn't see Jeb defending him. Just saying.
I didn't see the Kel one. I'm not.
I didn't see him defend Gorlock either.
Closing. I'm just saying it's crazy that he didn't watch those episodes, but he.
What kind of a feminist doesn't defend Gorlock the Destroyer?
I'm saying, fake feminist here. He didn't destroy that mountain of a bitch either, though. So I mean, no excuses. I'm just saying it's total coincidence. As somebody that's not can't do these things, I just want to say shame on y'all for doubting his sincerity, and he's absolutely correct. In final closing thoughts, other than that, I'm Admiral Gibbs. You can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs. Thursday, we got a big show. We're going to be doing a massive panel on fucking the Somalians and their illicit crime that they're conducting. It's going to be wild stuff, a lot of hot takes. And you know what? I am going to go the opposite way. And even I think some of the black
hashtag not all Somalians.
I think that we need to not expand. I don't think we need to do like Fabian's doing, where you say we're going to restrict it to men only. But I do think, in a serious note, we do need to look at some of these people that have been granted citizenship. We need to do the opposite of what Prime is talking about. Legal aliens, fuck those bitches. Some of these people that got citizenship through asylum, fuck those bitches. And we need to leave the asylum treaty and kick them all out.
I agree, but not my parents. Okay,
especially the Somalis. And
lactoid Somalian parents should not be able to vote.
Hey, also on a sort of unrelated note, that grimy libertarian that you guys were talking about before, right? The one who doesn't shower. Is she hot? Do we know what she looks like?
I have heard that she was hot at one point.
But
I don't know
who got her or what.
Okay. All right. Well, if we don't know, then fine.
She once made I did see this. She made a flow chart of she had a big sex party.
Of her
she had a
birthday
flow chart.
Yeah,
of all the different guys that gangbanged, which ones came in her, which ones didn't. It was like
got
8
past
different...
the screening of
She's not a libertarian. I thought she believes in single payer health care.
Well,
she's a Taurus libertarian like Lactoid.
There's a lot of people that claim the name libertarian.
She's more Taurus than me. That's
right. And then Reason did like a puff piece.
Where's your gangbang chart,
Lactoid? Being like, OnlyFans girl turned research scientist. And did like a whole puff piece on her.
Someone sent me like
to be fair, research scientist is not a protected title. So
someone sent me a link to her Twitter.
But it's a general.
You know who y'all should follow? Let me give you a PhD you should follow. Her name is Reisuka. She's OnlyFans model, and she's a paleontologist. Who doesn't want to see?
I only defend the hot e-girls. Okay, that's a
see the difference between me and you is that I'm openly.
Joey Swole owned that bitch. Okay, I don't even want to hear.
Send me. Hey, guys,
I sent it in the Discord.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to send you guys off.
Damn it. Right, seconds before me.
Thank you. I appreciate
fast fingers.
Both, right? I'm going to send you off, right, to a white woman, which is, my pattern.
Is it Charlie? And so can be excited.
It is. That's not Charlie. Maybe a new woman you could be excited about.
Oh my God!
And defend to the end.
Every woman.
But thank you all for being here. This has been another one of my shows, but the quality is what it is. I'll see you guys off. Bye.
Do you only do Mondays, Prime?